It's time to talk about processing. Processing basically means taking care of any student or teacher request that requires a change to our systems, schedule, or checklists. As you might have guessed, with nearly 2,000 students actively taking lessons here, there's a lot of processing to do every day at Expressions. Fortunately, our processing specialist takes on a ton of that work. When you get a task that requires processing, you have two options. Send it to the processing specialist or process it yourself. If it's something that's super time sensitive, like an enrollment that starts in a few hours, a day of schedule change, a hold that starts that day, etc., then you would need to be the one to process it. If it's not time sensitive and the processing specialist is working a shift before the item needs to be processed, then you can submit it to them via the processing submission page. As we discussed in the last few sections, we already have all the information we need to get these things processed. Now we just have to do it. Let's start by going over how to submit things via the processing submission page. Alright, here we are on the processing submission forms page. So this section is going to be a little bit different than the other ones. On all of the other training sections, I was working off of a script, but for the processing section, since it is so vast and so varied, there's not really a good way to script it, so we're gonna go off the rails here. We're gonna go a little off script, but like I was saying before, we're just gonna start at the top and work our way down. So yep, processing submission forms page here, a lovely photo montage of myself, and then the rules. So let's just get to it. Note that Gretchen's processing days are Tuesday 3 p.m. and Wednesday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 12:30 and 4 to 6:30. So keep this in mind as a general rule, but it may or may not be accurate depending on the day, depending on what her schedule is, or depending on what the work distribution plan is by the time that you're watching this or when you're working. So if you're not sure, just Slack her, or you can check the work distribution Trello board. But if you're not sure if she's working, then definitely check. And then it says the following items should be sent to Gretchen on any of her processing days listed above: student cancellations, schedule changes, recital bookings, private lesson enrollments, private lesson returning enrollments, private lesson holds, private lesson withdrawals, level up junior enrollments, and level up junior to private lesson enrollments. If you're dealing with an enrollment or a schedule change of some type, you must place a hold as applicable. So for this one, if you remember this section and when we were going over wellness living, where you go to the teacher's profile and then you click on that little profile icon and add an unavailable time with the note and everything. If you're doing an enrollment or a schedule change, be sure to hold that time. There could be up to like 7 other people looking at the same time that you're looking at any given time. So the holds are super important. So just keep that in mind. And you may forward these items to Gretchen on the days she is not processing, only if the item is not time sensitive. For example, enrollments or schedule changes should not be submitted to Gretchen if they are set to occur before her next processing shift or anywhere near it. So kind of take this into account when you're going about your day. If you get a schedule change that's going to start later that night or maybe the next day and Gretchen's not processing the next day, then you would need to do it yourself. But if you got, for example, an enrollment that was starting like 2 weeks from now, then that would be okay to submit to Gretchen. So kind of use your discretion. If you're not really sure whether or not you should submit it to Gretchen, just ask somebody. We're here to help. Student cancellations that come in on Gretchen's non-processing day should be processed by you. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the student cancellations task on the work distribution Trello board. If you're assigned to that task, you're going to be doing that from 5 to 9 regardless, but kind of keep an eye on that. If you know she's not processing and you see a cancellation come in, you should definitely do it. And then these are all the forms that can be submitted on this page. We got a schedule change, private lesson enrollment, private lesson returning enrollment, level up junior enrollment, and level up junior to private lesson enrollment. So all of these things here, these are all separate individual forms that we can submit. They all have a little bit of the same structure. Depending on what it is, you need different information, but we'll go through one of them and check it out in a minute. Below that is the private lesson hold, label for Gretchen when it comes into our inbox, and private lesson withdraw, same thing. So the hold and the withdraw are forms that are actually filled out by the clients. We can't take like a hold verbally. Like if someone comes up and says, hey, I want to hold my lessons from blah to blah, you would send them the link to that. You wouldn't actually fill it out for them like you would a schedule change or an enrollment or something like that. Same goes with the withdrawal. And then we got the level up excuse me, off the script. We're gonna get some throat clearing, some ums. It's gonna be great. The level up junior inquiry form for early childhood coordinator. So for this one, this is for if you get a level up junior inquiry, someone calls you, someone walks up, they're like, hey, I want to do level up junior classes. Then you get as much information as you can from them and then submit that form. Then we got the hours discrepancy report. For that one, that's actually something that Gretchen uses. We do a hours check for all of our instructors to make sure that all of their hours are accurate and everything. So that's something that she submits. You don't ever have to do anything with that. Then we have the work distribution adjustment request form. So this is for if, like if you're doing your work in your day-to-day and you feel like maybe the work distribution could be altered in a better way, in a more efficient way. I feel like I'm overloaded, something like that. Then if you wanted to propose a change to the work distribution, then this is the form that you would go to. You would write it out and they would either accept that request or reject it, depending on what it was, but that's where you would go to talk about it. And then we have right here a really awesome resource. It's links to send to students and teachers. So you've probably gathered from the sections before this, people come up to the desk all the time and say like, hey, can I hold, withdraw? I need to update my billing method. Like, where I want to download the app. Can you send me a link? So this is just a collection of all the links that we have, common use for that we can send them. You can just click on them and copy and paste the link out of the browser, and then you can text it or email or whatever you need to do. But they are all here in one place. We got the enrollment info gathering form, private lesson withdrawal form, level up junior withdrawal form, the hold form, payment update form, recital sign up form, AGM sign up form, EMA app link for iPhone and Android, the level up app link for Apple and Android, and the teacher and student resources pages. So, just once we're done with once we're done with this, you ideally are going to want to just go back and read through this page, kind of get familiar with what's on it. But anyways, so back up to the forms here. So let's just take a look at the private lesson enrollment form. We don't have to go through every single one of these. Once you see one and start using them, you'll get familiar with how they are. But we'll look at this one. This one's pretty detailed, and we're just going to kind of fudge some information here. But yeah, this is the look of it. As you can see, most all of these boxes are required fields, and it is very, 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 very important to be as detailed as possible and also consult the examples right here. Some of them have examples, this doesn't, this doesn't, this doesn't. But for the ones that do have examples, it's important that you follow the format for those. So we're just gonna put my name here. And then for this one, we're just going to say they're in Novi and they're an hour-long student. And we're going to say it's Bob Davis, sure. And then we have the instructor. So with the instructor, it's important that you put their first and last name. A lot of times we have teachers with the same first name. We had, I think, 4 Beths at one point. So just, first and last name, very important. Don't just put like Rachel or Bob or Hayden or whoever. First and last name. Then we got the instrument and then the first lesson date. So this is the date of their first lesson with the, whether or not it's a free trial lesson or just like a private lesson student right off the bat, whenever their first scheduled lesson is, that's the date that you want to put on here. And then the format right there. Again, it's very important to follow that format. So we're gonna do that. Then the lesson time, again, we got another format, so be sure to follow that. And then we're just gonna say they're a free trial lesson, promo applied. So this box is for if we're doing like a Cyber Monday promotion or basically any promotion that would affect the cost. So if there's no promotion going on, then you would just put, not available, or you can just leave it blank. Credit card fee waived for the first month. So for this, we do waive the credit card fee for the first month if they have a credit card and they want to update it to a checking account later. A lot of times people don't want to pay that credit card fee, but they don't have their checking account information on for that, or on them, like they don't have it with them. So for this one, what we can do is we can waive that fee for the first month to give them time to, bring it in, or call us with it so we can update it. So in this instance, we're going to say that that's the case. Yes, we want to waive that credit card fee for the first month. And then the initial inquiry type, we're going to say they called us. And then the source. So there's a million different ways that people hear about us. If you want to look at some of the more common ways, we can look at the statistics and contact lists. But for this one, let's just go ahead and say they saw the sign. And it opened up their eyes when they drove by. And they drove by. Okay, and then the age of the student. So just a side note about the age of the students. If they're an adult student, you don't have to get their birthday. Like, we can just put adult. That's fine. We get students in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We've had students in their 70s. And at that point, it's not, we don't need to be like, when's your exact birthday? It's important for the younger students. There's a big difference between a 5-year-old and a 8-year-old. But if they're an adult, you don't need to get their exact age. You can just put adult. And then, do they have the instrument yet? This is one of the questions that you want to ask them as you're setting up their enrollment. If they're signing up for piano lessons, like, hey, do you have a piano or a keyboard yet? If they say yes, great. If not, then, we have some resources where you can direct them to kind of help them figure out what they can get. But we're just going to say they do have the instrument. And then the student history and goals. So this is something that hopefully you've figured out when you've been talking to them, being very conversational with them. What's their history? What's the goals? So let's say, like if they're an adult student, the typical history is like took lessons as a kid, and now they want to play music with friends. Sure, we'll say that. But just don't just say like used to take lessons or something like that. Be as detailed as possible. Gretchen needs as many details as you can give her. So even if it doesn't seem important, definitely include it. And then special notes. So for this one, you could say basically anything and everything that you could think of as far as extra details go. Things like the time is held, just to let them know that it's held. You could say that the student is very excited to start. And then sometimes with the adult students, they take lessons next to where they work, but they're going to move or something. So let's just say in this instance that, they're potentially interested in moving to the Rochester location in the future. Yeah. So, special notes, just any and all details that you can think of to include here, definitely put them in there. They'll be very helpful to Gretchen. And then move the student in the pipeline. So if they're in the Trello student lead sales pipeline, then they obviously need to be moved because they already signed up for lessons, right? So you would go to the Trello pipeline and then move their card to the done list. Once you do that, then you can just check, I moved the student on the pipeline, and then submit. There we go. And then it submits to Gretchen's label, and that's all you have to do with that. And all of these different forms kind of follow that same format. There's the cells with the information. So as you're going through and writing these things down for processing, it's really, really important that you take down as many notes as possible. Details are very important. Write down everything, even if you think you're going to remember it. There's a chance that you won't. I mean, I've been burned by that many times before. It's very, very, very important to write down all the little details as you go through here. But in conclusion, that is the processing submission page, and let's get into some processing. Pretty straightforward. Now, let's say that the processing specialist isn't working, or that you have something super time sensitive to do, or that you're in charge of processing that day. In those cases, it's up to you to process the stuff. I've set up a bunch of dummy tasks here in my email inbox, and we're just going to go through how to do them one by one. So let's start off with this request information form. As you can see here, we got the notification from our secret Riff Spy that a gentleman named William Nye is interested in some ukulele lessons in Novi. So let's get to it. It's right here. And with the request information forms, there's not a checklist for these. There actually is a Trello board for these. So we're going to go to Trello and we're going to open up the student lead sales pipeline. There are some things that we're going to need out of the drive, so we're going to keep that open, but primarily we're going to be working out of here. So let's take a look at this riff list. So let's see here. Add contact to day one list by copying card template. Okay. So we are going to copy this card in the day one list. Let's copy it. And if you remember from before, we just got to click copy and then we can edit the title. And if you look over here, you can see there's the name of the request information form. So we're going to put our friend William's name in there, William Nye, and then create card. There we go. We'll close out of this. And there is our card. Now let's add ourselves to it because, as you can see here, everyone has added themselves to their own student leads. So you can either do it by clicking the members and clicking your icon, or you can use that awesome spacebar shortcut. There we go. Good stuff. And now we are on to the checklist. We have a request information form checklist and a non-request information form checklist. Obviously, since this is a request information form, we don't want to use this one. So we're going to delete this one and then just delete. So, and that doesn't delete it everywhere. That just deletes it on this particular card. So no worries. So we copied this card template. Great. We deleted the other checklist. Great. Good stuff. Enter the information above: location, inquiry, type, and date, instrument, and program. And just as a side note about these checklists and any of the checklists that we go through in this section, it is very important to do the task first and then check it off. Don't check it off, then do the task. Always do the task first, then check it off. So anyways, enter the information. Okay, let's do that. So let's see, what are they interested in? Let's look over here. Looks like Novi. So we're going to type in Novi. Inquiry type, they are a request information form. Date of the inquiry, it is, let's see, 10:48 p.m. That's the time, not the date. What am I doing? The date is March 7th. So 3/7. And then the instrument and program, looks like they're interested in ukulele. And then retired from pipeline on day. So this is if they sign up, we would retire them from the pipeline, or if they made it all the way through and they just never signed up, then that's when we would retire them. But for now, we can actually just leave this empty. Then save. Okay, and then we enter that information. So let's go ahead and check it off. Add the contact's email, phone number, and any other pertinent details for future contact in the comments section below. So we have the comments section. What we can do is we can just copy and paste this entire thing right into comments section. So this will provide easy access for later. That way you don't have to dig back through your inbox and find it. It's right there. Now that we did that, boom. Add to the lead tracking sales conversion spreadsheet. All right. So this can actually be found in Google Drive, and we can either search for it this way, or we can just go lead tracking sales conversion. Boom, 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 boom. There it is. Then we're just going to scroll down to the very bottom here. We've got a lot of leads. A lot of leads here. There we go. All right. And then we're just going to add them in. So we have the location. I'm not sure why it says location FF. I feel like that might be an accident. So I'm actually going to fix that. Location. Oh, and it took us back to the top. Let's go back down. There we go. All right. So the location they're interested in is Novi. The staff, well, my name is Kyle Kumke, so KK. And the inquiry type, so that is a request information form, RIF for short. And the date of the inquiry, today is the 7th. So we're going to put that there. The name of the contact, which is William Nye. William Nye. And then they are interested in ukulele. All right, and then these, as you can see with Gretchen's initials, these are enrolled. Anything that's blank is not enrolled. So you can actually just leave that blank. Gretchen will fill it in if they enroll. That's all we have to do with that for now. And we did it. So let's check it off. The next step is going to be a phone call. Now, obviously, this is a dummy request information form that I cooked up. That is my phone number. I'm not going to call myself because I can't. But if this was a normal request information form, you would call them. And sometimes they pick up, sometimes they don't. So if they were to pick up, then, you would just introduce yourself, say, hey, this is blank from Expressions Music Academy. I got your request information form and I just wanted to touch base with you and answer your questions about, whatever type of lessons they're interested in, ukulele lessons. And then, listen to them, figure out what they want, figure out when they want it, what location they want it in, who it's for and everything, and then go from there. If they don't pick up, then you leave them a voicemail. So if you were going to leave them a voicemail, there is a script in the card in this riff list here. So we're actually going to back out of that really quick. Go to phone call. And as you can see here, there's a lovely voicemail script that you can call or that you can follow. So there's that. But let's just say we called them. They didn't pick up. We left them the voicemail from the script, nailed it, crushed it. It's done. Let's check it off. Next thing would be to add to the contact list in the drive the links in the card description. Okay, so the contact list, link in the description, so we can actually just click on this. Whoops. There we go. Third time's the charm. And this is our contact list. The private student, it's labeled private student statistics because it has our contact list, retention stats, source statistics, try to say that 5 times fast, for all of our locations here. But the contact list is what we're going to add them to. So we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And this list is huge. So it's going to take probably a minute to load, and it can take a minute to get to the bottom, but that's okay. It is a good thing that we have this many contacts. There we go. Perfect. All right. So they're interested in Novi. So we're going to put Novi there. The status is either current, former, or prospective. Those are the 3 options. So we're just going to say they're a prospective student because they are. Then the contact first name, just pull it from the card. Last name, pull it from the card. Address, you can actually copy and paste it from the card and save yourself a little bit of time. There we go. And then just be sure to center it so it looks nice. There we go. And then they are from Livonia in Michigan. Put their zip code in there, their email address. It's best to just copy and paste that email address. Sometimes people have complicated email addresses with a lot of different, punctuation and things. Copy and paste is the way to go always. There we go. Copy and paste that phone number in there under the phone number, and that's it. They are on the contact list, which means we can go back to our Trello card and check it off. There we go. All right, next up, send email 1 for riffs. So there is a canned response template in Gmail that we can use to do this. But we're just going to click on email here. There we go. We're typing an email to our friend William Nye. Then let's click the little 3-dot menu, go to canned responses, and then email 1 for riffs. There we go. And all the highlighted fields are fields that we need to change. So change subject to information about blank lessons, in this case ukulele. So there we go. UKULELE. Perfect. Then we're going to change this to hi, William. There we go. Great. What's your name? Write your name there. My name is Kyle. What kind of lessons? Ukulele lessons. UKULELE. Great. Now, the last thing is your name and your signature. So write your full name. Oops. And your signature. Or I'm sorry, your title. There we go. And the last thing we need to do is make sure that this is not yellow. It makes it look very templatey. and we don't want it to look like that. So we're going to click on text color, background color for white, and click send. There we go. And now that we completed that step, you know what that means? We get to check it off. And then we're going to send a text to them. Send text number 1 specifically. If you remember, we use ZipWhip for our texting. So we're going to open that up. And if it's directing you to send, you know, like on this one where it said send email 1 for riffs, on this one where it says send text 1, there was a template for email 1. So, you know, you've probably guessed it by now. There is a template for this text number 1. So we're going to go to ZipWhip. We're going to compose a new message. And then if you remember back from the ZipWhip section, we can copy and paste their phone number in, put a space in there, and then put the name of the contact. Then hit enter, and it'll enter them as a contact. There's a lovely message from before, if you remember. And then instead of typing them a message, there's a template. Click on that. Riff text 1 of 2. So this is the first text. Again, say that 5 times fast. There's riff text 1 template, and then there's 2 parts to it. So we're gonna click on the first part, populate it, and then we gotta change these fields. We obviously don't want to send them a blank template. That would be super embarrassing. Oh. Hi, William. And you also want to be mindful of the names. It's as you're going through these, as you get quicker, it's really easy to flip those names and say, you know, hi, and then write your name, and then put this is, and then put their name. It's it has happened before, so be very mindful. Take your time. This is William. Like I just did it right now. Goodness gracious. This is there we go. This is Kyle from Expressions Music Academy. We just got your request information form about ukulele lessons. I'd love to answer your questions and maybe schedule a free trial lesson. Send. And there is a second part, so let's go ahead and do that. It's now a good time to talk. Would you like to chat by text, or would you prefer for us to call you? Boom. And there we go. Now that we sent that, we can go back to this list and check it off. And then the last thing we're going to do is move this card and change the due date. So how do we do that? Well, it doesn't have a due date right now, so we need to change the due date. What do we put it to? Well, we're on day 1. The next list is day 2 to 3, so it stands to reason that we should put it either tomorrow or the next day. So the due date is going to be tomorrow, the 8th. Click save. There's our due date. There we go, and we need to move it. So now we're on the day 2 to 3 list. And the last thing that we need to do, because we did that step, is check it off. Boom. There we go. And we did it. That is a request information form. Now, if you remember from the Gmail section, once we're done with emails, we need to unstar them and put them in the completed label. Just like that. And that is request information forms. All right, the next thing we're going to tackle is this credit that I set myself a GR for. So we need to credit Mini Kyle $142 for being awesome. Obviously, this is not a valid reason to give someone a credit. All of our students are awesome, but for this example, this is why we're doing it. And just like all good things in life, there is a checklist for it. So we're going to go to the drive, go to the processing checklists, and lo and behold, right there at the top, credits and refunds. Let's crack it open. And there's the checklist. Credits and refunds, very versatile. Awesome. So right off the bat, just like all the other checklists, we need to look at the top of the column to see what that column is for. And for this one, it is location. So we need to figure out where Mini Kyle takes lessons. Let's take a look at his profile here. If you look in their user activity, you can see Novi Expressions Music Academy, Novi. So we can safely say that Mini Kyle goes and takes lessons in Novi. Then the name of the student, there we go. And the amount of the credit or refund, 142 bones. Whether it's a credit or a refund, this is a credit, so we're going to put that there. And then the reason, well, for being awesome. There we go. And then we would check this off once we issue it. So again, with these, we always have to do the task first before checking it off. So to issue this credit, we're going to go back to the Wellness Living profile of Mini Kyle, go to the Account tab, and then click Billing and Account Balance. And then we're going to click this little button that says Credit, and then put the credit amount, so 142, and then a note. So it's always good to add these notes just for reference later. So I'm just going to say issued on 3/7 for being awesome. KK. Credit account. There we go. Transaction completed successfully, and as you can see there, we successfully issued the credit. So now that we did that task, we can go back here. We did it, so now we can check it off. Simple as that. And just like always, once we're done with the email, we're going to unstar it and we're going to move it to the completed label. There we go. Since we already have all this stuff open for, the credits and refunds, it would obviously make sense to do this refund right now. So this one, refund Kyle Kumke $1. There we go. So first thing we need to do is go to Kyle Kumke's profile, because we gotta know what location he's in, So let's see here. Novi. He's in Novi. So let's go back to the credits and refunds checklist, enter that location, Novi, and we're going to say the name of the student, the amount of the credit or refund. This is a refund, so we're going to write refund, and then the reason is for training purposes. And then we don't want to check this off before we issue it, so let's go to the profile and issue that refund. So for the refund, you wouldn't actually go to the billing and account balance page, you would go to the transactions. There we go. And as you can see right there, there's our offending transaction that we need to refund. Now, if you didn't see it here, if you remember from before, we can switch it to a week or month view. And you can also scroll through day by day or use this little calendar drop down to skip to the date. But for this one, fortunately, it popped up right away, so we can go ahead and refund it. So we're going to go to this little drop down menu here, click on that, then click refund. And then it's going to ask you for a confirmation, and you can just click OK. Now that we're on this page, we can see here, these are just a couple of bars. You can go ahead and disregard these. Right here is what you want to pay attention to. Specifically this box where it says amount to refund. So we want to refund $1. If we wanted to only refund part of that, we would edit it, but the GR says $1, so we're doing $1. There we go. And then we're going to click refund. And there we go. It is all set, all pushed through. So now, since we did it, we issued it, now we're going to check it off. And as always, now that we're done with this email, we are going to unstar it, and then we're going to move it into the completed label. And that, my friends, is a refund. All right, the next thing we're going to tackle here is the material request form. So in this email, as you can see, there are 4 different slots where an instructor can request a book or CD or other item. But for this one, in this example, they only requested 1. So let's get right to it. As you've probably guessed by now, there is a checklist for it. So we're in our processing checklist in the drive, and then we want this folder right here, material requests and ordering checklists. And it is a material request. So let's open up this checklist that says material requests. This one's a little more complicated than the credits and refunds checklist we were just on, but it's okay. It's still the same format, still the same rules apply. Look at the title up here to figure out what needs to go in the cell. Always do the step before you check it off. So we'll start here, Instructor name, looks like their name is Dave Smith. There we go. We got the date on the form, which is March 7th. The student location, which is Novi. Then the student name, the student instrument, which is piano, and then it looks like it is a Piano Adventures lesson book by Faber, and it looks like it is a level 1 lesson book. No CD, so we can go ahead and just retail price not including tax. How are we going to figure this out? Well, we're going to go to the Wellness Living store, and to save us some time, we're actually going to be looking at this student's profile. If you didn't know what if you didn't know what location the student was in, or if you were like, I'm not sure, I don't think they're in Novi, I think they're in a different location, you might already be on the profile to verify it, but let's just go to the store. So we're going to click on Make a Purchase. There we go. And then we are just going to we could search for it here, but to make it a little simpler, we're just going to go to Books and Materials, click on that. And then I know what this looks like, so I'll be able to find it pretty quickly, but at first it might be a little daunting. But trust me, you are going to be very familiar with all the covers of these books in due time. So, it's okay. It's okay to be overwhelmed right now. And if you're not, awesome. But it's right here. So we can see the price is $8.99. Great. So now we're going to go back to the checklist because we know now it's $8.99. We're going to fill that in. Next thing we're going to do is send permission email. Okay. So how do we do this? Well, if you look in this little box right here, there is a little kind of black triangle dog ear corner, and that indicates that there is a note on that box. So if we hover over it, look at all those instructions. Send the Wellness Living template called Action Required Materials Recommendation from the instructor to the student. Be sure to edit the middle section which lists the item and price. To find the price, search in our store. Look at that, it's telling us how to do the thing that we just did. If product does not exist in our store, find the retail price online in any music store such as Amazon, or Sheet Music Plus. Then let Monique know where you found the price. Okay, so this is great. This is great information to know. You might have noticed that all of these have directions. So if you're going through these checklists and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Read those directions. There's very clear directions. It should help you figure out what to do. If all else fails, if you're still like, I don't really know what to do, just ask somebody. We're here to help. So, but for this one, we got to send them that permission email. We're going to go to the Wellness Living template, call to action. Okay. So in order to send an email through Wellness Living, we can actually do that through the profile. So we're going to go back to this profile, and then we're going to click on the little email icon. And then the template is in here. We can search for it this way, or you can actually search for it by the part of the name. I know it says action required somewhere in there, so I'm just going to type action. There it is. Action required materials recommendation from instructor. So click on that. And then if you remember, we do have to list the item and retail cost here. So you could just type it in, or there's a really cool thing that you can do. If you go back, you can select this cell and this cell, and then copy it. Go back to that email, backspace that, and then paste it right in there. Just like that. So they know exactly what's going on. And this sends an email to the client saying, hey, your instructor recommended this. If you want us to order it for you, respond to this either saying approve or deny. That all looks good. We did everything that it said to do on the checklist, so we're going to send it. There we go. And now that we did that step, we can go back and check it off with our initials, of course. Then send permission text. Okay, how do we do this? So send this text to the student for whom the material is recommended. Hi, parent, student. Okay, this looks like a template. So we're going to copy this right here. and we're going to paste it right into ZipWhip. Now I have our conversation up from earlier. Again, you can search by contact, contact name, or you can type in their phone number. So we're just going to paste it right in there, and then we're going to edit down those required fields. So, hi Kyle. This is Kyle from Expressions. Your teacher just recommended an item for us to order for you, but we need your permission first. Please reply to the email we just sent you with approve or deny. Thanks. Boom. Sent it. There we go. Now, since we did it, let's go back and check it off. There we go. Now, if we get a text back from them saying approve, then we need to do some more processing. So, oh, what's that? Lo and behold, oh my gosh, they just approved it. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. So, looks like we got some more processing to do. So, the date that it was approved or denied, it is 3/7. There we go. So, if approved, respond to the email. Well, they didn't email us back, but they did text us back. So, we got to respond to that text. What do we say? Like, okay, great. Respond to the student's email, letting them know you received their approval and their teacher will have their item for them within the next lesson or two. Okay, that's easy enough. So, we're just going to say, great. Your teacher will have your item for you within the next lesson or two. Awesome. Great. Send it. There we go. Since we did it, let's go back and check that part off. And then we're going to add the item to the ordering checklist. Add the item to the ordering checklist in the drive. It will be ordered by the order processor and then charged and delivered to the mailbox upon arrival. All right, so now we're going to add the item to the ordering checklist. So let's go back to the drive, and lo and behold, it's right there, the ordering checklist. Woo! Okay, and same kind of format. I'm sure you've picked up on it by now, but we got the titles of all the columns right here. So we're just going to follow along. We got today's date. Then we have the student's location, which is Novi, the student's name, the student instrument, and then we need to copy the information that we had here over onto this checklist. So instead of clicking back and forth on these tabs, I'm actually going to drag this over to my other screen for easy entry, just like that. So we have the Piano Adventures lesson book by Faber. It's level 1. Whoops. Level 1. Looks like they don't need the CD. So there's that. And your initials. And there we go. That's all we have to do on that. Monique is in charge of ordering, so we don't have to do any of the ordering for that. So that is it for that. Since we did this step, we can check it off. And they did not deny it, so we're going to go through and just go dash, dash, dash. And that's it. There's some extra things again over here for Monique, so we don't have to do any of that. And that is all there is to that. So we're going to close out of these checklists and go back to our original email. And we did it. So now we are going to unstar it, and we're going to drag it into the completed label. Woo! All right, so by now we've done like a few pretty easy things. We've, like you probably have a general idea of how the processing works. So let's just do the hardest thing. We're gonna do a private lesson enrollment. So on here, on this little form submission from the processing submission page, we have a private lesson enrollment. So it has, submitted by location. We kind of talked about that before, what's in here. So just like everything else, there is a checklist for it. So let's find it. We're going to go to the drive. We're going to go to processing checklists. And then where is it? Private lessons probably, right? Let's open it up. There we go. And it's not a level up junior transfer. It's not a returning student. It's got to be a private lesson enrollment. This checklist is wild, but that's all right. Let's just kind of take it in for a second here. So it's laid out the same, just like all the other checklists, but looking here at the top, we have some bigger kind of steps. So we have like enter information, and then we have a few different methods of enrollment here. There's like the no free trial. We have if they're doing a free trial lesson or if they enrolled online. This one's pretty rare, but it does happen. So if they did enroll online, then these are the steps that you would follow, and you would dash through these. Whatever method they do, you want to complete those steps and then dash through the rest. You can kind of see some examples here. These people signed up without a free trial lesson, so they dash through these steps, and these people did a free trial lesson, so they dash through all of these. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through. And let's start from the left and work our way over. So we have, let's see, looks like they're going to be in Novi. So we're going to type that in. It's a 30-minute lesson. The name of the student is Kyle Kumke. The instructor is Expressions. So there are no actual teachers here named Expressions, but I did need to set up some dummy lessons, so that's what they're set up under. But put the instructor name in there. There's no teacher named Expressions, just so you know. The date of the first lesson in here, it's 3/14. So let's copy that in, 3/14. And then it looks here, what method did they use? Well, if you look here, it says the enrollment type is a free trial lesson. So that's the steps we're going to follow. So since we're not doing the online registration, we're going to dash through those. Not doing a no free trial, so we're going to dash through those. All right. Let's see here. Scroll over for a little easier viewing. There we go. Okay. So, like in some of the other ones, as we were talking about before, there was the directions. So sell private lesson membership. What are we going to do? We're going to go to the client's overview tab and select make a purchase, set the location, then add the proper membership to the cart. If the student is, and then there's prorating directions. Instead of reading those, we're just going to do it. And there's the rest of that. So we're actually going to go through all this, but if you get lost and you need some step-by-step directions, they are there. So we're not going to initial it right now because we didn't do it, but we are going to make good use of our dual screens here, and we're going to drag this over. So let's go to the client's profile, click on make a purchase. All right, so we are on the store page here, and we need to get a private lesson membership. So instead of like scrolling through here and trying to find it, we're actually going to search for it by name. And fun little fact about these private lesson memberships, they have the length of the lesson at the beginning of the title for them. So since it's a 30-minute lesson, we're going to search 30, and there it is right there. You'll see there's a couple that say like PC right here. For these, Plymouth Canton does have a discounted rate. It was $119 and now it's $127. But since they're in Novi, you're not going to be using these. If you were enrolling a student for Plymouth, then you would use the new PC 30-minute lesson rate. You would never use this $119. But since they're for Novi, they're $142. So let's add it to the cart. And the billing goes on the first of the month for every month. Since the student is not starting on the first of the month and they're doing a free trial lesson, we need to do a couple things. We need to make sure that they don't get charged for that, that trial lesson, but we also need to make sure that they don't get charged in March or, have their billing cycle have their billing cycle be on any other day than the first. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this. So we're going to click this little 3-dot menu here, click edit details, and then we're going to actually start it on the following month on the 1st. So April 1st, April Fool's Day. There we go. And then we obviously don't want them to get billed until April 1st for their regular lesson pass. So don't bill client till this date. We want to turn that on. And we also want it to auto renew. We don't need to prorate the first payment because it's just going to start on the 1st. And that's all we need to do with that for now. So let's check out. So we'll proceed to checkout. There we go. And now we can complete it. There we go. Great. Now, since we did that step, let's check it off. Sell free trial pass. Okay. So you might be kind of wondering, well, they're starting on the 14th. There are free trial lessons on the 14th, but they still need to be charged for the 21st and the 28th. And you're right. But with the way that the the lesson pass is set up, we can't really do that. So we have this lovely free trial pass, which enables us to charge a prorated amount for the remaining lessons in the month after they have their trial lesson. So we're going to go back, and then we're going to search for the free trial lesson pass. There it is. Okay. And this one, we're just going to add it to the cart, and the default is free. Okay. So now they obviously need to get charged for the 21st and the 28th if they decide to continue on with lessons, but we need that to go through after their trial lesson. So the way that we do the free trial lesson pass charges is 2 days after their lesson. So in this case, it would be on the 16th. So we need it to charge for 2 lessons on the 16th. 2 lessons, which is half of the 142 amount, would be $71. But I'm just going to double check my math because I'm not very good at math. So we're just going to look at that. 142 divided by 2, $71. Perfect. Okay, great. So we know that we needed to charge $71, and we know that we need to charge it on the 16th. How do we do that? Well, let's edit it. So we're going to click on this. We're going to click Edit Details, and then we are going to click Start On. And the start on date is basically when it charges. So we want it 2 days after the trial lesson on the 16th. There we go. And then obviously we don't want it to bill until the 16th. So we're going to check that box. And then we have the auto renew section. We don't want this to auto renew. We don't want them getting charged a prorated amount mid-month for every month until the end of time. So we'll leave that checked off, and we don't need to prorate it. So we'll leave that checked off as well. Now, as far as the price goes, we know it needs to be $71. So let's enter that in. $71. Boom. There we go. So it's not going to charge them anything right now, but it will charge them $71 on the 16th, which is 2 days after their trial lesson. And that takes them through for the lesson on the 21st and on the 28th. Great. So now we need to proceed to checkout. There we go. Perfect. All right. And since we did that, let's check it off. All right. So the next thing we need to do is sell them the registration fee. So we're going to go back to the online store. We're going to click Make a Purchase. There we go. Okay. So we're going to use the search bar, and we're going to find that registration fee. There we go. Add it to the cart. So with this one, we want to kind of have this go in tandem with the free trial lesson pass, which charges them the prorated amount for the lessons left in that month. So we don't want to just charge them $30 right off the bat. That would be bad. So we're going to edit it. Click that little drop down menu, click Edit Details. There we go. And we want it to start on the 16th, which is the same day as our free trial lesson pass is going to charge, if you'll recall. Let's click on that. And then obviously we don't want it to be billed until that date. So we're going to click the Don't Bill Client Until This Date slider. We don't want it to renew because we don't need to charge them that registration fee every month until the end of time. And it doesn't need to be prorated. So we're going to leave both of those off. Next, we need to proceed to checkout and hit complete. Did it. Great. Now let's check it off. Boom. All right. Now we need to set up all their appointments. So we're going to go back to the client profile. And again, as you're doing this, if you get lost, if you're not sure what to do, read these directions. All of the ones on the private lesson checklist have directions. They're all very helpful. And, if you ever get stuck, they can help you. If you're still stuck after that, just ask somebody, we're here to help. There's no shame in asking questions. So we're going to set up all the appointments. So we're going to go to book an appointment. There we go. Just wait for the schedule to load. The schedule for Wellness Living is notoriously slow. So if it takes a long time to load, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's normal. All right, here we are. So now we need to go to their trial lesson day. So let's consult this email. Looks like they're doing a 9 to 9:30 trial lesson on the 14th. So we're going to use this little handy drop down menu, go to the 14th and set up that trial lesson with our favorite teacher, expressions. There we go. All right. So now we need to, here's expressions. So we're in the right column. Now we just need to find the right time. 9 to 9:30. There we go, 9 o'clock. So we're going to click on the spot. Good stuff. All right. And this is good. This is for Kyle Kumke. That's who we want. So now we're going to go and move down to the date and time box because we do need to edit all of these fields except for this one. So Thursday, March 14th, 9 to 9:30. Great. So the thing that we need to do is book recurring appointments. If you'll recall, every private lesson is once a week, same time, same room, same teacher, same day, and everything. So we needed to repeat every 1 week, not every 1 day, month, or year, but every week. And then it defaults to the correct day here, so no need to change that. It does not end. Ideally, in a perfect world, every student would stay with expressions until the end of time. But regardless, just for our purposes, to make sure that no one, takes someone else's spot or, schedule changes into someone's spot, we need to make sure that the appointment has no end date. So we're going to select this little box here. There we go. And that effectively blocks off that student's time until they decide to change it or withdraw. Next, we're going to select the staff, and they are already selected because we picked them on the calendar. So really nothing that we need to do there other than just make sure that we are on the right staff. And then in number 4, we have the location, which defaults to the correct one because we're there on the schedule. And then the service. So we're going to click on this. And then as you can see here, we have the 30-minute private lessons, 45-minute private lessons, and 60-minute 60-minute private lessons. We want the 30, so we're going to click that. And then it's going to pop up with these questions. So this is where all these questions from the processing submission private lesson enrollment email come in handy. So do you have a piano or keyboard at home to practice on yet? If not, we'll be happy to help you. So let's see, does the student have instrument yet? Yes, great. So we're going to fill that in. Do they have any prior experience with piano lessons? Looks like no. And then do you have any particular goals or styles that you want to learn? Looks like this student wants to learn Für Elise. So wants to learn Für Elise. Great. Will this time work well for you on a weekly basis? As far as you can tell, if not, please go back and choose a different time that'll work with your schedule on a weekly basis. This is kind of put in there just as a fail-safe for the people who may or may not understand. Like sometimes when students come up to the desk and are setting up lessons, they're under the impression that it's just kind of like, maybe they could do one time 1 week, then another time another week, so on and so forth. But that is just not the case. It's, very consistent, very structured. Again, same time, same day, same room, same teacher. So this is just kind of a fail-safe to make sure that whoever set up the enrollment can talk to them, whoever set up the enrollment, talk to them about that. They understand it and they know for sure. So if you're setting up an enrollment and you're like, oh, I forgot to tell them about that, maybe give them a call or a text back and, remind them. Or, ideally you would have already talked to them about it. So the answer to this one would ideally be yes. And then how old is the student? So let's take a look here. Looks like they're an adult student. So we're just going to type in adult. There we go. And then it's going to say book and pay, add appointment, or book unpaid. Don't worry, it's okay. Go ahead and click book unpaid. And in just a second, Wellness Living is going to pop up and tell me that all of these lessons are unavailable. Yep, conflicts, here we go. Unavailable, unavailable, unavailable. And in this case, yes, like we're gonna disregard this because it's a dummy appointment. I know it's not available. People can't book into lessons with quote expressions. It's okay. But if this pops up when you're enrolling somebody and all these conflicts are coming up, then there's a good chance that that time is taken by another student, in which case you would have to go back on the schedule, investigate, kind of look and see who's there, see what's going on. Maybe there's a hold, maybe there's a student, but don't just disregard it. If the time is held, then it will say, it'll have a couple of conflicts a couple of weeks out, but then after that, it'll be completely clear. So in that case, if you see a couple of conflicts then you can say, oh, okay, well, the time was held. It says the time is held, so that's okay. The reason that those conflicts are there is because the time was held. But for this one, I'm going to ignore all these, book all anyway, and then again, book unpaid. It's not booking them into lessons for free, but if you'll recall, they haven't actually paid for anything yet, which is why it says book unpaid. So we're going to click on that. And then wait for our very slow Wellness Living schedule to accept the fact that we have booked a very, a very incorrect appointment. And actually, while we're waiting for that to load, we can just mosey on back over to this private lesson enrollment checklist. We did just set up all the appointments, so we can check that off. And as a bonus, we did answer all those questions when we set up the appointment. Oh, look at that, it went. So we can actually check that one off as well. All right, so the next thing we need to do is schedule a reminder text for 12 p.m. the day after the free trial lesson. Okay, so this is kind of as a fail-safe. Again, I know I kind of mentioned this earlier, but sometimes when people do the free trial lesson, they're not under, they don't understand that it's, they're basically committed after that point to that lesson time. Like they're just kind of thinking like, oh, like I can just do a free trial whenever and then I can sign up whenever. Like it's it's not like that. When you do a free trial lesson, you basically have until we close the day following your trial lesson to let us know whether or not you want to continue. If they do want to continue, then everything's already set up. They don't have to do anything else except for keep coming to lessons. If they do want to cancel, they need to call us, text us, email us, and let us know. If they don't let us know, then they're just in. So it's kind of an opt-out thing. But sometimes people forget, sometimes they get busy. So we schedule this text just to remind them like, hey, you're all set for lessons. Or if you have any questions or anything, just let us know. But it's just kind of like a courtesy check-in just to make sure that, 2 days later, they're not like, hey, I didn't want to sign up for lessons. Why'd you sign me up? If they ignored all our all our communications. It's just kind of like a last line of defense, sort of a fail-safe kind of thing. So we're going to copy this lovely note and we're going to put it into a text. And our contact is pulled up from earlier, so we're going to paste it in there. All right, this is Kyle from Expressions. Looks like there's no more fields that we need to fill out. So we don't want to send it right off the bat. We need to schedule it. So we're going to click that. And we needed to schedule it for 12 p.m. the day after the free trial lesson. So it's on the 14th, so we need to schedule it for 12 p.m. on the 15th. So we'll do that. And then we are going to do 12 p.m. There we go. That's all set. That all looks good. So we're going to schedule it. There we go. Boom. We did it. We can check it off. Next thing we need to do is update the whiteboards. So for this, the goal board or the whiteboard basically is us keeping track of the goal. So you're going to go to your goal board in your location. You're going to update that number, and then you're actually going to jump on Slack and update the goal board number. So let's just open up Slack here. There we go. And we're going to go to the goal board channel. And I'm not actually going to do it because it's an example. It's not a real student, not a real enrollment. But what we would type, let's see here. What's the number before? Right now, the number is 0.5. So if it's a 30-minute student, so that's up by 1. So we would say 1.5. So we're going to bold this text, 1.5. New piano student in Novi starting on the 14th. And then you would send it. But in this case, I'm not going to because I don't want to give everyone false hope that we got another enrollment. So we're just going to backspace that out. And since we fake did it, we are going to real check it off. There we go. GR to email policy. Create a GR for the day after the student's first lesson to email them the policy. The GR should say exactly this. email policy, student's name. Okay, so let's go to Google Calendars. Hopefully you remember how to make a GR, so we're just going to click create and follow the directions there. So email policy, student's name. Okay, we can do that. Email policy, Kyle Kumke. Whoops. There we go. And let's see, it needs to be for the day after the student's first lesson, so that'd be the 15th. And then we need to make sure it's under our label, or my label. Click that, save. Boom, that's all there is to it. Since we did it, we can check it off. Hold time if necessary. Okay, so this is for, maybe you were speaking to them and forgot to hold the time earlier, or maybe for some reason the time is not held. But if a student's starting like in a couple weeks, then there's a chance that, somebody might look at that spot, think it's open, and then you'd have a double booking, and then it just turns into a mess. So you want to verify that the time is held. In the form submission, it did say that the time is held, so we are good to go on that one. But just be sure to always hold those times. Be really diligent with that one. Add credit card membership if applicable. Excuse me. So if they have a credit card on their account, if a credit card is their billing method, then they need to have the credit card processing fee added. So we need to verify what sort of billing method Mr. Kyle Kumke has on his account. So we're going to go to account and then billing and account balance, and we should be able to see what he has. Okay, so it looks like there is a checking account on here. So we don't need to add a credit card processing fee, but we don't want to leave this blank, so we're going to put a dash through it. Add contact info for every member is the next step. So again, this is for if you were setting up their profile as you were talking to them. This is just kind of to make sure that everybody has all the information on each part of their profile, especially with the student and parent ones. So for this step, you can just kind of go back through and verify that all the fields are filled in. The name, email address, their Wellness Living account is set up, the cell phone number is there. This is an adult student, so we don't need to have the date of birth there. Gender, address, home location, how you heard about us, all that information is there. Great. Okay. So we can go ahead and check that off. Double check the home location on Wellness Living. So they're taking lessons in Novi. We need to make sure that their home location is Novi. There we go. It's Novi. Great. All right. There we go. This is a bear of a checklist, just so you know, but that's okay. Lots of little steps. It's probably going to take a while the first time you process an enrollment, but it does get quicker, I promise. But yeah, let's just keep plugging along here. So we have the source statistics step. That is a tongue twister if I've ever seen one. So go to the appropriate location program, in location and program the source statistics in the drive. All right, so now we're on the source statistics. Let's see here. So go to the appropriate location and program source statistics in the drive and increase the appropriate column by 1. Make sure you are on the correct tab. So this one is kind of handy because it has the link to the document we need right here. So we're just going to click on it. There we go. And again, we're going to make good use of our dual screen setup here, and we're just going to move it right over. There we go. So source statistics, we need to find source stats. There we go. For Novi, we have Novi, Troy, PC, West Bloomfield, and Rochester Hills. But we want Novi, so let's click on that. There we go. All right. So we're in 2019. This is the one that we want. And these are all the potential sources where someone could have heard about us. So let's see. I don't remember how they heard about us. Let's take a look at the form here. Source. Okay, source is Google. Okay, so if they Googled us, they probably looked at our website. There's not a just straight up Google source statistic here. So we're gonna go to website and we're going to up that number by 1. There we go, just like it said to do on the checklist. We did it. Now we're going to initial it and move on. Retention statistics. Okay, so we're going to go to the retention stats, which is actually right here. We don't even have to move. There we go. We have a lot of students in Novi. Let's just keep scrolling. Like Limp Bizkit, keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. There we go. Okay, so we need the location, Novi, the name of the student, the name of the teacher, the instrument, and the month/year enrolled. So if they enrolled in March, we just need to put March 1st, 2019. It doesn't matter if it was like the 14th, 15th, the 30th, March 1st. So I'm gonna copy and paste that there, and there we go. That's all we need to do with that one. So let's put some initials there. And then the mailing list transfers. So this one is for, maybe they were on the prospective mailing list, maybe they were on the former mailing list. So we just need to verify like where they are and make sure they're on the right one. So instead of scrolling through and trying to find it, we're gonna do a handy little thing here. If you press Control and then F, this little search bar will pop up, and then you can search the name of the student. It's looking. All right. And it looks like they're not even on the contact list at all. So we need to add them, and we need to make sure they're on the right one. There we go. Let's go to the bottom. And here we are. So they're in Novi, so we want them on the Novi list. They're a current student now, so we want them on the current list, not the former or prospective. Then we're going to put in their first and last name. Then we're going to put in their address. So let's see here. Is it in here? Nope, it's not in here. Where would we find that address? In the Wellness Living profile. Again, making super good use of our dual monitor setup, and we can just copy it right over. Go, okay. There we go. And then we got the email address and phone number. Boom. All right, so we did it. Great. There we go. All right. Next step would be add to constant contact. We're going to throw it way back to that constant contact section. So let's open it up here. I'm going to log in. All right, let's go over to contacts. There we go. Okay, so now we need to add a contact. We're going to type in one contact. There we go. Let's consult our little form here. But that doesn't have the email address. So let's consult the Wellness Living profile. There we go. And we're going to copy that email address right over. Then we need to add them to the appropriate email list. Let's see here. They are a current student in Novi, so it stands to reason that they should be on the Novi current list. And click apply, save. Boom. Great. We did that. Let's check it off. Okay. GR referral bonus gift card referring family and GR referral bonus gift card referred family. So we have a wonderful referral program here at Expressions. If a current family refers someone else to lessons and they sign up, then each family gets a $25 Expressions gift card, and they can use that towards lessons or gift certificates, whatever they want. But in this instance, it looks like they were not a referral. They heard about us through Google, so we are going to go ahead and put dashes through those. But if they said like, oh yeah, like so-and-so referred me, then you would follow the steps right here. But since they didn't, we're going to move on. Then we need to schedule a lesson follow-up text. So a text for the day after the student's second lesson. And then we have the body of the text here. So we are going to Copy that. And we're going to go back to ZipWhip. There we go. All right, and we're already open from our other conversation, so we're going to copy that in there. And then we are going to write the name there. Hello, me. This is me from Expressions. All right, there we go. Now that we've filled in the right fields, we need to schedule it for the right day. So the text for the day after the student's second lesson, they're starting on the 14th, so it needs to be on the 21st. So we're going to schedule it for the 21st. And obviously we don't want it to go through at 1:31 in the morning. There's not a specific time, but just kind of use your best judgment. I think 1:31 in the afternoon would be just fine. So we're going to schedule it. And there we go. It is scheduled. We are good to go there. Let's check that and move on. All right. Update the lead tracking sales conversion spreadsheet. This is another one of those handy dandy ones where we can just go right ahead and click on it. There we go. So we are already here. So if they were a request information form or had gotten into contact with us in the past, there is a strong chance that they will be on this list. So let's take a look here. Again, we're just going to do the Control F search function. Very helpful. And we're going to search for the student. And it does not look like they are on here, so we need to add them and then indicate that they're enrolled. So location is Novi. It's me. It was let's see, they heard about us through Google. How did they get into contact with us? Let's see, initial inquiry type. It was a phone call. Okay, so let's go back to that lovely lead tracking sales conversion list. Indicate that it was a phone call. There we go. The date of the inquiry was on the 7th. The name of the contact is Kyle Kunke. And they are a piano student, I believe. Let's just double check. Piano. Yep. Great. All right. And they enrolled. So initial it. There we go. Great job. We did it. Initial. And let's keep going. Okay. We have 6 steps left. Next up is the send questionnaire email step. So send the Wellness Living email template to the parent or adult student asking them to fill out the new student questionnaire. There are 2 templates, one for parents of one for parents of children and one for adult students. So send to parent of child, there's the new student questionnaire for your child, or adult student, new adult student questionnaire, please fill out before your next lesson. So the questionnaires basically enable the teachers to have a little bit more of a clear picture of who they are, like what their background is, what they're interested in learning, what their learning style is. It basically is kind of a twofold thing. It helps the teacher to, know them and therefore kind of prepare for a better lesson for them. And because they're doing that, it helps the new student have a really awesome first lesson experience. So it's a good thing to have all around. We need to do that step. So let's go back to the Wellness Living profile. Since it is a Wellness Living email, we're going to go back to the overview. We're going to click send email. And then if you'll recall, as we just read, there are 2 different templates. So we want the one, since this is an adult student, we can actually close this, we're done. So let's see, send to adult student, new adult student questionnaire. So we are going to, instead of looking through all these, we are going to go new adult student questionnaire. There we go. Click that, and it's already all filled out and everything, so we're just going to click send. There we go. Perfect. Next, we have send questionnaire texts. So immediately send 2 texts to the new parent or adult student asking them to fill out the new student questionnaire. So sometimes emails don't go through. Emails are pretty easy to ignore. So we just want to make sure that they fill out that questionnaire. So kind of like before, there's the parent of child, and there's also adult student. And there's 2 texts. So we're going to copy this. And again, making great use of our dual monitor setup, we're going to paste it and fill in the blanks here. go. And again, we send those immediately. So as you're processing, even if it's a little bit later, it's okay to send those right away. And then when you're sending these, you want to make sure you send them right after the other. You don't want to be like send the first one and then wait and then wait and then wait and then send the second one later. Like you want to do them both right away, one right after the other. There we go. And we did that step. So we are good to go. Perfecto. All right, so next is the Level Up account setup. We need to do this so that they have their Level Up account already set up and ready to go so that they can get into it really easily. But, you know, we got to set it up on our end first. So let's go ahead and do that. So it says go to the Level Up admin dashboard, add the new student, and add their instruments and teachers. So I have the Level Up admin dashboard pulled up here. We're just going to sign in really quick. All right, I think this is the password. But if it's not the password, that would actually be kind of cool because then we could reference something that we did earlier. Oh, nope, that is the password. Darn it. Okay, well, that's all right. We'll stay on track here. So this is the Level Up admin dashboard. Now we need to add them into Level Up Junior. So how are we going to do that? We're not going to click this hamburger menu. It's not this. It's not this. We want to go to the students, not instruments, songs, challenges, or anything like that. Students, because we're adding a student. Makes sense, right? Click on this little arrow. There we go. And then as you can see at the top here, we have add student. So let's click on that. And this is really easy. So we're just going to add in the student's first name, the student's last name, the student's email address. Okay, and they are not withdrawn, but that defaults to no, so it's okay. And then we're going to click Create Student. Yep, okay. And I already have myself in here, so normally it would just say like, you know, student created, but for this one it says I already exist. So you can disregard that. But regardless, since we're in there, we did all the steps, we did it, so we can check it off. Woo! Next thing we want to do is schedule the app download reminder texts. So we need to schedule 3 texts for 2 weeks after the student's first lesson. Make sure they are each scheduled for the exact same time. So for 2 weeks after, this is basically just a text we send them that's saying like, hey, you know, just in case you haven't, we have this cool app where you can, you know, schedule makeups, cancel lessons, all that good stuff. Did you forget to download it? Okay, well, here's the link to it. So we want to schedule this for 2 weeks after. It's about enough time for them to kind of like get into a groove and they kind of know what's going on. So we're going to go, since we're sending a text, we're going to go back over to Zipwhip. And here we are on Zipwhip. Great stuff. Now we're going to go back over to our conversation from earlier, which is still open. Great. And then we're just going to copy and paste these messages. So we have the first text here. There we go. Hi, student name. It's your name, which is that name from Expressions. It's been about 2 weeks since you started your lessons, and I just wanted to check in and see if you downloaded our apps yet. One is the Expressions app to help you track your schedule, and there's 2 other parts. So we want to schedule this, but we want to make sure that, you know, not only are they 2 weeks away, but they're also scheduled for all at the same time so that they don't get like one text and then 1 hour later they get another text or they get them out of order. We want them all at the same time. So 2 weeks from their lesson, they start on the 14th, so it's going to be on the 28th. And then we want to schedule it for 10:19 is a little early. Let's just do it for noon. That's good, not midnight. We want noon. There we go. Schedule. Beautiful. Okay. Now we have part 2. The second text. And this one's nice and easy because there's no fields that we need to fill in. As you can see here. There we go. And we're going to schedule that. So again, just make sure that it's for the same time as this other one, scheduled for 12 p.m. on Thursday the 28th. Great. Schedule the second one. Great, we're doing awesome. Third text. There we go. Copy and paste it in there. Do the little clock thing. Back to the 28th. Still 12 o'clock. PM. Schedule. Crushed it. Great. Great. Grand. Wonderful. Is there anything else? Nope, there's nothing else. We did it. We get to check it off. And we are on the last two steps of the private enrollment checklist. So these are send map if PC student and schedule map texts if PC student. Our Plymouth Canton location is a little bit tricky to find. It's kind of tucked back in a little bit of like an industrial plaza. And a lot of times when people are going there for the first time, they get lost and end up showing up like 10 minutes late for their first lesson. It's pretty bad. So we want to make sure that they know how to get there. And we actually concocted our own little map that has like a Google world view of the plaza and like a little line with an arrow. I bet we could actually look at it here. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. So let's open it up. There it is. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of tucked back. And actually, if you look on this on Apple Maps or Google Maps, it'll show it as this being our location. That's where our pin is. We're not sure why. We've tried to move it a million times, but it's still there. So we send them this through Wellness Living. There we go. That's where we are. So they kind of see that. And that just kind of helps them to figure out, you know, like, okay, this is where I need to be going. You get how maps work. So that's that. So we would send them that map right away. If they were a Plymouth student, this student is not, so we don't need to do it, but we can't leave it blank. So let's put a dash through it. There we go. And schedule map texts. And then this is a classic text scheduling situation. You know, it just says like, hey, we're excited to see you today. And you would schedule it for like a few hours before their first lesson. So, but again, they're not a Plymouth Canton student, so we're going to dash this out because we don't need to do it, but we can't leave it blank. There we go. We did an enrollment. All right. So it's a lot to take in. Enrollments do take a long time as you're first starting out. They can be really tricky. You know, but I would just really, really encourage you be as thorough as possible. Always read the directions, even if you're like, I think I know what to do. Even just for like the first 10 or 20 that you do, just always read those directions. Make sure you know exactly what you're doing. You'll get really quick at it, and you know, it'll be great. Accuracy is more important than quickness when you're starting out. So if you're worried like, oh man, this enrollment just took me like an hour to do, that's okay. Like when you're starting out, that is completely fine. It's okay. It's not a contest. We would rather you complete it accurately than complete it inaccurately. And then, like it ends up taking more time when you do it inaccurately because then you have to go back and fix it. And sometimes it causes double bookings or people showing up at the wrong time, and it's just not good. So accuracy is incredibly important in all things at Expressions, but especially with the private lesson enrollments. So take your time, read the directions, don't check things off until they're done, and that's that. All right, so if you'll notice in our little dummy inbox here, we also have a private lesson returning enrollment and a Level Up Junior to private lesson enrollment. Now, the steps for these are very, 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 very similar and mostly identical to a regular private lesson enrollment. So rather than going through and doing the same steps that we did already, we're just going to go over some key differences, and then just kind of talk about it, save some time, and that way you'll still have a good understanding of it. You'll still have seen those checklists and you'll know when to use them. So this is our private lesson enrollments checklist. We're going to move it over here, and then we're going to open up that returning student private lessons checklist. Again, making great use of our dual monitor setup. All right, so let's scroll back here. There we go. Now, as you can see, these first four sections, the enter information, online registration, no free trial, or free trial lesson, the steps between the returning student and the private lessons are exactly the same. They don't change between those two. These are, you're always going to process an online registration a certain way, or a no free trial or a free trial lesson. It's the same whether or not they're new or returning. So that's that. Nice and easy. And then here we have, whoops, there we go. Update the goal boards. Obviously, if you're getting a new student, you got to update the goal board. Then the Google reminder to email the policy, that's the same. Hold the time on this teacher's schedule if necessary, that's the same. Add the contact info for every member, same thing. Add credit card membership if applicable, same thing. Reactivate or create new Level Up account. So this is a little bit different from the private lesson checklist where it just says Level Up account setup. Like, we for sure know that they don't have a Level Up account. So what we would do for this step, again, you can read the directions. You would search for the student in the Level Up admin dashboard, which is that site that we were just on. We can actually go back to it. So let's just say that Adya Ekbote was a returning student. So we would search for her in the search bar, but we're already looking at her. So we're just going to go to the profile, and then we would look at this withdrawn thing. If it says yes, then we would change it to no because they're back. And if it's on no, then we know it's good. And that step is done. So just a little, it's essentially the same thing, but just a little bit different, like, because there's a chance that they might already have a Level Up account. Then we have the sourced statistics step, which again is pretty much the same. The source would be different. So if we go back and look at that checklist, so there is a column here, as you can see, that says former student. So that's what they would be under. Even if for some reason they were like, oh yeah, we were looking at your website and decided to come back, they are a former student, they're coming back. So that's the number that you would update. So there's that. The retention statistics. So for that one, you would do the retention stats the exact same way. No difference there. The contact list transfer. So for this one, they would already be on the contact list, except for, let's see if I can find an example here. Yep, so it would look something like this, where it says former student. So really all you would have to do for that one is just kind of double check it, make sure that their address, and their email address and their phone number was still up to date. There's a chance that they moved or that they got a new email address, something like that. So just cross-reference that with their Wellness Living profile, make sure that's all up to date, and then update the list that they're on. So instead of former, you would change them to current. So that's what you do with that one. Then update the constant contact list. So if you remember, we're going to throw way back to the constant contact section again. If they withdraw, then they're actually going to be on the former students checklist. Or I'm sorry, the former students constant contact mailing list. And we don't want them on that list anymore, because then they just, they're in lessons, but they're getting emails like, hey, you should come back. And they're like, oh, we're already back. Like, so you would go search for that contact in constant contact. Like so. There we go. And then if you remember to change the list that they're on, all you have to do is click that little X, press the plus sign, pick the list that you want them to be on, then hit apply. There we go. So that's all you would have to do for that one. You wouldn't have to enter them in or anything because they're already there. So just change the list that they're on. Then update the lead tracking sales conversion spreadsheet. So that's basically the same as the one on the private lesson checklist. Just go on that lead tracking sales conversion spreadsheet, fill out the required fields, and you're good to go. Schedule app download reminder text, send questionnaire email, send questionnaire texts. So those two steps are the same, no difference there. Now, if you notice, there's no thing that says send map if Plymouth Canton student, but that is because if they're a former Plymouth Canton student and then they decide to come back to lessons, they're going to know where it is. They don't need that map. So just keep that in mind as you are going through. But those are the main differences between those two checklists. Again, do the step before you check it off. Read the directions as you're starting out. If it takes a little time, don't worry about it. It's okay. Accuracy is more important than speed when you're starting out. And then, like we were talking about before, let's look at some of the key differences on the Level Up Junior to Private Lesson Transfers 2019. There we go. Okay, so these are, again, they're different, but not super duper different. So it kind of follows the same format. You got the location, student, and then the change week. So this actually looks sort of similar to the schedule change checklist, where you would indicate the change week in which that level up junior to private lesson transfer is going to occur. So you would fill that in. Then you got the lesson day, the lesson time of the current level up junior class. You would be able to find that out from looking at their wellness living profile. And then you got their requested private lesson placement. So this is a little bit more thorough than this checklist because it's got their instrument, teacher, day, time, and length. So, just be mindful of those. Read these columns, make sure you know what you're putting in. Enter all those fields. There we go. And then hold time if necessary. You remember that one. You hold the time on the teacher's schedule to make sure no one takes it. That one's pretty straightforward. Cancel events. So for this one, you are canceling them out of the level up junior class because they're transferring over to the private lessons. And there are steps for all of the, there are detailed step-by-step instructions for this entire thing. Go to the client's upcoming schedule tab, scroll to the bottom, click view more. If they're canceling all classes effective immediately, cancel all. And then if a student is planning on continuing for several more sessions until a certain date, click on the checkbox next to date, then deselect all the classes the student is planning on attending, then click cancel selected. So this is basically just to take them out of the level up junior classes completely, or all the ones going forward after, the next 2 weeks or something like that. So there's that. Then notify the teacher. So if they're transferring if they're transferring to private lessons before the level up junior program is complete, make sure to notify the level up junior teacher that they're not continuing, just so they know. They'll get the notification from Wellness Living, but it's always good to send them an email saying, hey, they're not going to continue on, they're transferring to private lessons, just so you know. Then we have the constant contact list transfer. We just did that. So for this one, you take them off the current level up junior student list and put them on the current private student constant contact list. We know how to do that, so just make sure they're on the right list, initial it, and then look at that. These are very similar to the ones that we were just looking at. Sell private lesson membership, sell private lesson membership, set up appointments, set up recurring appointments. Those steps are exactly the same. Answer the questions, you remember that one. Update the whiteboards, the goal boards, update those. GR to email the policy, we remember that. Level up account setup, we were just looking at that. Great. Schedule the app download reminder text, source and retention statistics. So those steps are very similar. Between all three of these enrollment checklists, some of the things are exactly the same, and there are some key differences. So I know I've said this like 50 million times before, but just remember, take your time, read the directions, make sure you understand what you're doing. Accuracy is more important than speed when you're starting out. And that is it for the private lesson / level up junior to private lesson enrollment / returning student section. So just be mindful of what the form submission says and use the correct checklist. That's all there is to it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is a free trial lesson reschedule. So if you look at this email here, we have the free trial lesson reschedule. Kyle Kumke to 9:30 to 10 on the 15th. So we do allow our free trial lesson students to reschedule the date of their free trial lesson one time, just as a courtesy. Sometimes, like one parent sets it up and then they get home and they talk to their spouse and they're like, we can't do it that day. We have soccer practice or something. I don't know. But the point is, it does happen sometimes. It's not a ton, but it does happen. And if you kind of remember from the private lesson enrollment section when we were setting it up, a lot of the passes are time sensitive. We have those texts that go through 2 days later. And if they are rescheduling their day, then we need to reschedule and change a bunch of stuff. Like if they rescheduled it to next week, then we wouldn't want them getting texts before their lesson saying like, how was your lesson? Or if they're a Plymouth Canton student being like, hey, we're excited to see you today. Here's your thing. And then they get those and they're like, we're not coming today. We talked to someone. It just, it can turn into a mess really quickly if we're not careful. So that's why we have this lovely checklist for it. Let's get into it. So it's a free trial lesson reschedule. So it stands to reason that would be in the schedule changes folder. And there it is. Let's open it up. All right, so here we are on the free trial lesson reschedules checklist. If you'll notice, it's quite a bit simpler than the private lesson enrollment checklist. And all the checklists that we're going to be dealing with from here on out are a lot simpler. However, accuracy is still crucial. And again, as you're encountering these checklists for the first time, it's probably going to, take a little bit longer than you might like. But that's okay. Accuracy is key. It is more important than speed when you're starting out. So let's get into it. So we know that, let's see, the student's location is Novi. They're a 30-minute student. The student's name is Kyle Kumke. The instructor is our favorite, fake instructor, expressions. All right, and it looks like they're rescheduling to the 15th. Oops. There we go. And then we have the new lesson day. Okay, well, the 14th is a Thursday. Yep, the 14th is a Thursday, so they're rescheduling to a Friday. So we want to indicate that there. New lesson time, 9:30 to 10. Okay. And just as a side note, we don't have lessons this late. Again, this is just for training purposes. The last lesson of the day is at 8:30. Please don't schedule for anyone at 9:30 at night. Then we have new teacher, if applicable. It's the same teacher, so we are just going to put a dash through there because it's done, but we can't leave it blank. And new instrument, if applicable, same deal. They are not changing their instrument, but we can't leave it blank, so let's put a dash through it. Delete, repurchase, and reschedule passes. Okay, so if you remember from back when we were setting this up, like with the free trial lesson pass, we had it charge on a certain day. With the registration fee, we had that charged on a certain day. So obviously we don't want them to get charged too early or too late. We want it to be on the exact right day. So we need to go to the client's profile. There we go. And let's just read through this really quick. Delete the free trial lesson pass / registration fee pass found in the passes and membership tab. Click the gear icon to the right of the pass to find the cancellation option. If the lesson is being rescheduled to an upcoming date that lands in the following month, cancel the private lesson membership pass / credit card processing fee pass as well. Okay, so it's not landing in a new month, so we don't have to worry about the credit card processing fee pass or the private lesson membership pass, but we still need to delete the free trial lesson pass and the registration fee pass. So we're going to do that first step. We're going to repurchase them in a minute, but let's go ahead and delete them. So we'll go to purchases and wait for Wellness Living to load. Here we are on the purchases tab, so we need to delete this free trial lesson first month pass and the registration fee pass. I'm going to click the gear icon, cancel membership. Why are they doing it? They rescheduled. There we go. That is gone. Great. We're going to do the same thing with the registration fee pass. They are rescheduling. There we go. Okay. So, and again, we don't have to do anything with this 30-minute private lesson fee because it is still happening in March, so that we want them to get charged on April 1st, May 1st, etc., etc. We don't need to do anything with this. If they were rescheduling from a March date to an April date, then we would have to mess with this one, but we don't. So let's go back to the overview. And also, if you remember, they don't have a credit card processing fee on this account because there is a checking account as their billing method. So now we need to repurchase these. So let's go back to the store. Loading. There we go. Okay. So let's start with the registration fee pass. Registration, we'll search for it. Boom, there it is. Okay. So if you remember with the registration fee, we want that to charge 2 days after their first trial lesson. Now, they were on the 14th, so it was going to charge on the 16th, but they're moving to the 15th, so we want it to charge on the 17th. So let's have it start on the 17th. There we go. And then we don't want to bill them till this date, so we want to turn that slider on, but we do not want it to auto renew, and we're not going to prorate it. So let's just leave those two off. But that looks good. $30 registration fee on the 17th. Don't bill the client until this date. Great. Next, we're going to proceed to the checkout. There we go. And let's go back to the client profile. We got that registration fee pass. Now we just need that free trial lesson pass. There we go. Looking great. There we go. We added the free trial lesson pass into the cart, and now we need to edit it. If you remember before, it was $71, which is the prorated amount for the remaining 2 lessons in the month after their trial. So it looks like that's still the case here. There were 2 lessons after the 14th, and there's 2 lessons after the 15th. So great. We need to adjust that price to $71. All right. And then start on March 8th. That's not what we want. We want it to start 2 days after their trial lesson, which is now on the 15th. So this is going to go through on the 17th. And then, you probably guessed we don't want to bill them till that date, so let's leave that on. But we don't want it to renew, and we're not prorating, so let's change those, or let's not change those. Excuse me. So that looks good. Let's move on. Proceed to checkout. Looking great, nothing changed. Okay, complete. There we go. Now we did it. So that means we get to initial it. Check it off. Boom. So now we need to adjust all the follow-up GRs and texts. Adjust all scheduled texts/GRs accordingly to reflect the new start date. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with ZipWhip. There we go. Here's all of our follow-up texts that we have. There's a lot of them. There's 5. So let's see. Friday, March 15th. Hope you enjoyed your lesson yesterday. Okay, that was true, or that would be true if they were doing it on the 14th, but that's not true now. So we need to change it. So we're going to edit it, and we're just going to move that 1 day ahead. Boom. Great, looks good. And then, hey, this is me from Expressions. Just wanted to check in and see how things are going so far. Feel free to reply right here with any questions or comments. So that one is scheduled for 2 weeks out. So we are just going to scooch that, or I'm sorry, a week out. So we're just going to scooch that a day ahead. Save it. Great. Okay. And then these are the app download reminder texts, all going through on the 28th. So we're just going to scooch these ahead 1 day. 29. Boom. 29. Boom. And 29. There we go. That's all of our scheduled messages. Looks good. All right, so we rescheduled all the messages. There was something else on here. GRs and texts. Okay, so Google reminders. So let's go ahead and go to our Google Calendar, and we're going to click this little search icon, and we're just going to search for, let's see. I don't remember exactly what that GR said, so we're actually going to go back and look. Wait for it. There we go. All right. We were supposed to do a GR. Haha, GR to email policy. So the GR says email policy, student's name. All right, let's find it. So we're going to email policy. There it is. Okay. So it was supposed to go through on the 15th. We're actually going to scooch that ahead 1 day to the 16th. We don't need to change the start date. We never need to change the end date. And then in the description, if we want to, we could just say like rescheduled from 3/14. That looks good. And then save. Perfect. Great. Anything else that we need to adjust? We did all the GRs. We did all the texts. We did it. There we go. Adjust start date in private lesson enrollment checklist. So we're going to find the student and adjust their lesson start date. Awesome. So let's go back to our private lesson enrollment checklist that we were just on and update this date. Boom. Easy peasy. We did it. Let's check it off. Okay, reschedule appointment. So for this one, this works kind of like a schedule change, which we're going to go over in a minute. But basically we need to go to the student's upcoming schedule and then reschedule all those appointments. So let's go to that profile here. And then we're going to go to the upcoming schedule. All right, there we are. So as you can see, it's still set for March 14th from 9 to 9:30, and that is not what we want. We want it to be from 9:30 to 10 on the 15th. So we're going to click this first appointment, then click reschedule. There we go. So at the top, we got the right client. Let's move to number 2. So it's still in Novi, it's still piano lessons. All these answers should still be the same. If there's any changes, update them. But, you know, obviously their age hasn't changed unless they had a birthday, but that's, you know, that's neither here nor there. And then we have all the other stuff, but we can go ahead and just leave that for now. Okay, so now we're going to reschedule the session. Now, normally what you would do is you would select all sessions going forward, update the time, and then click the day. However, right now, as I am making this video, there is a Wellness Living glitch that prohibits us from selecting the day. It just won't let you do it, which is kind of annoying, but it does happen sometimes with our software. You just got to figure out a way to work around it. So we're actually going to do a little bit of workaround here. We're going to go back to the profile, and instead of just rescheduling the appointment, we're going to cancel the appointments and then rebook them. So we're going to go to the upcoming schedule here. There we go. And we need to cancel all these appointments. So click view more. Some more appointments will load. View more. More appointments will load. There we go. We want to just keep clicking until we can't see that view more button anymore. Now, instead of going through and doing cancel, okay, cancel, okay, cancel, okay, we can actually click this little checkbox. It'll select them all and then do cancel selected. Are you sure you want to cancel these? Yep, we got to reschedule it. So we'll hit that. Wait for Wellness Living to think about it. There we go. So we just got all those canceled. They're off the schedule for that time. Nothing is currently scheduled to occur during the specified time. Great. Now we can go back to the profile overview and we can reschedule them for their new time, which is 9:30 to 10 on the 15th. So let's go to book an appointment. There we go. All right, so now we're going to go over to the 15th and book our new appointment. All right, there it is. One lonely appointment slot open on the schedule. We're going to click on it. There we go. And then if you remember from the private lesson enrollment section, we need to edit these fields. So select date and time. That's right, but we want to book a recurring appointment once every week, not day, month, or year. Repeats on Friday, ends after no occurrences. We want it to have no end date, so we'll select that box. And then we're going to leave this here. This is right. This is our fake teacher that we want. And then the location is correct, and we want 30-minute piano lessons. And we can go ahead and re-answer these questions. If you remember from before, they have a keyboard. They have no experience. Wants to learn. Für Elise. This will work. They're an adult student. And then book unpaid. There we go. The appointment was booked successfully. So that's just kind of a roundabout way. In the future, once we get that Wellness Living glitch fixed, you'll be able to just reschedule it without having to do all those extra steps. But for now, that's the way that we have to do it. So we rescheduled it. We did it. Okay, next step is make sure teacher does not get paid if notice given is less than 24 hours. So if the lesson is being canceled and rescheduled to the following week, then make sure to do so from the schedule as early so a makeup class is not added to the schedule. If the lesson is being rescheduled from the student's profile, then nothing else needs to be done. Okay, so if we're canceling all those appointments off of the schedule and the reschedule is happening less than 24 hours in advance of the original appointment, then the teacher actually does get paid for that appointment. So what we want to do, like obviously they're not teaching that appointment, so we want to make sure that they don't get paid for it. So in this case, we would email, or if that was the case, if they're canceling less than 24 hours in advance, then we would email Gretchen and say, hey, make sure this teacher doesn't get paid for this time. It's a free trial lesson reschedule. But in this case, they did give us more than 24-hour notice advance, so we are going to dash through it because we don't need to do anything, but we can't leave it blank. Reassign instrument and teacher and level up. They're not changing their teacher or instrument, so we don't have to go to the level up admin dashboard and do any of that. So we can just put a check through it. There we go. And then notify the instructor. So write to the instructor and let them know about the schedule change. Wellness Living hasn't been sending emails to all of the teachers, and some teachers are missing any day changes. Eliminate this. So this is, again, just kind of another fail-safe just to make sure the teacher knows what's going on. So we're going to type a fake email to our fake teacher here, to info@Expressions Music Academy. And then, you just want to be as detailed as possible. So we're going to do Kyle Kumpke, free trial lesson reschedule. So that's the subject. Hey, Expressions. Kyle Kumpke is rescheduling free trial lesson. There we go. We're following the proper email procedures. We got a good subject in there, a nice greeting, lots of details, a closing, full name, and title. There we go. Then we would just send it, except for we're not going to send it. Edit, then just send it. And there we go. We notified the instructor. And that's all there is to it. We just rescheduled a free trial lesson. Now that we're done with this email, we do what we do with all the emails we're done with. We unstar it and drag it into the completed label. Woo! So after all that work we did to sign Kyle Kumpke up for a free trial lesson and then reschedule that trial lesson, he is now withdrawing from that free trial lesson before it even starts. So normally you would get this information via text, email, or phone call, but I set up a GR for myself. So people can withdraw from their free trial lesson up until the day of. However, remember when we were talking about withdrawals where we should make every effort to save the student? That also applies with the free trial lessons. Like, obviously we want them to come in and give it a shot. So, find out the reason that they want to withdraw. Once you find out that reason, just try and help them with whatever problem they're having. And, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, we can just pick a different day or a different instrument or whatever. But sometimes they just withdraw. So in this case, in our little GR, called and said that his house blew up and he can no longer take lessons. Okay, fair enough. So we need to find the checklist. Let's look in here and see if we can find a folder that would describe our situation. Probably withdraw and hold, right? So let's open that up. And then we have lesson holds, withdrawal feedback, and private lesson withdrawals. So let's open that up. There we go. Wait for it to load up a little bit. We'll go down to the very bottom. And here we go. Okay, so we have the location. Actually, you know what? Before we start this, let's go ahead and pull up that profile because we're going to have to do some work from that profile regardless. So let's open it up. Again, making excellent use of our dual monitor setup by having both tabs open at the same time. There we go. Okay. So the location is Novi. We were just doing this, so we know it's a 30-minute lesson. The name of the student, the instructor, the withdrawal month. Okay, so the withdrawal month would be the month coming up after the current month. So right now we're in March. So for this one, you would say April. If they were withdrawing in April, then you would say May, so on and so forth. Slight edit before, edit out that burp. Then we have the reason. Why are they withdrawing? House blew up. Okay, plans to return. In this fake phone call, they did not indicate that they are planning on returning because their house blew up, so no. And then we have these free trial lesson withdrawal steps. If you were processing a regular withdrawal, then you would just skip right over to this process immediately. But since this is a free trial lesson, we're going to do all these steps. There we go. So cancel all the passes. Immediately cancel the free trial pass, registration, credit card processing fee, and ongoing monthly membership pass. So we're just going to go to the account, passes and memberships. And we're going to cancel all the stuff. Let's do it. Just waiting for it to load here. Aha. Okay. So we have the trial month pass, the registration fee, and the 30-minute private lesson pass. So we're just going to go through. We're going to cancel. House blew up. There we go. Same thing with this one. We're just going to cook right through these. And house blew up. Great. Okay, so now that we have all of these canceled, this is a gift card. Don't worry about this. If they had a gift card on their account, that obviously wouldn't get canceled or taken away because they withdrew. So we're just going to leave that for now. So now that we did that, we cancel all the passes, which means that we can initial this and move on. Next, we need to cancel all follow-up texts and Google reminders. So let's go to ZipWhip. We're on our little account here. So normally it would say view scheduled messages instead of just having it all open. So we're just going to view them. We have 5 here, so we're just going to go through and delete them one by one. Right there. Oops. Delete. 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 And delete. There we go. Okay, so we deleted all the texts. Now there is a Google reminder, if you remember. So let's see if we can find it. Let's go to the search bar. Email policy, Kyle Kumke. All right, so we need to delete that. There we go. Did we do it? Let's take a look. Cancel all follow-up texts and GRs. We did do that. Let's check it off. Okay, now we need to cancel all the appointments. Go to the client's upcoming schedule tab and set the filter to show only the lessons that you want to withdraw the student from. So if they are a dual enrolled student, sometimes students will be taking like piano and drums or violin and saxophone or something like that, and they'll want to withdraw from just one lesson type. So you could just go through one by one and just pick like the violin lessons like that, but that would take forever. So we have this little filter option up here. You can do that and you can filter it by service type. In this case, there's only piano lessons, so we don't need to do that, but that is there in the future if you need to use that. So we are going to do the same thing that we did when we rescheduled it a second ago. We're going to scroll all the way down until we can't see view more anymore. Then we're going to select them all. And then cancel selected, click OK, wait for it to load. There we go. Nothing is currently scheduled to occur during the specified time, so they are off the schedule. We canceled their appointments. Let's check it off. Update the goal board. So now we need to announce the decrease in the goal. If you remember from the section where we talked about the goal board, a 30-minute lesson equals 1, 45 minutes equals 1.5, and a 60-minute lesson equals 2. So since this was a 30-minute withdrawal, then the goal board would go down by 1. Right now it's at 3.5, so it would be 2.5. 2.5. Student's house blew up and isn't coming in for free trial lesson. There we go. And if this was real, we would send it, but I don't want everyone to think that someone's house actually blew up, so I'm going to just delete that for now. But we fake did it, so we can for real check this off. Mailing list transfer if no family member is still taking lessons. Okay, so again, there might be an instance where somebody still has a sibling in lessons, even though they withdrew. So in that case, we would still want them to be on the current student mailing list. But in this case, this is the only student taking lessons, so we need to adjust them on the mailing list. Move their mailing list. Right now, they're on the current list, and they need to be on the former list because they are now a former student. There we go. So we'll wait for that to load. There we go. Still loading. Okay, and here we are. So now we need to change them from current to former. There we go. So we are good to go there. And we did it, so let's initial it. Next, we need to transfer their constant contact list. Again, the same thing applies as the mailing list. If they still have a sibling in lessons, then we want them on that current student list. But in this case, it is the only student in the only family member in lessons at the time. So we need to put them on the former list. So we'll go back to constant contact here. There we go. Go to contacts. Search for our contact. There we go. And then we're going to X them out of the Novi current students. And then go down to former students. There they are. Apply. And there we go. Now that that is done, we'll check it off. Delete from the retention statistics spreadsheet. So the retention statistics spreadsheet, which is right there, tracks how long that a student has been taking lessons. You can kind of see some examples here. This student was here from January 2016 to March 2016, so 2 months. But if a student is withdrawing from a free trial lesson before they even start, then they basically had no impact on the schedule at all or on our retention statistics since they never actually started. So we are actually just going to delete them straight off the list. To do that, you click on the row and then click delete row. There we go. Gone forever. Great. Did it. Let's check it off. Next, we have to deactivate their Level Up account. So we need to go back to the Level Up admin dashboard. Wait for that to load. Then go to the active students. All right, and now we're just going to search for Kyle Kumke, and the search function on this Level Up admin dashboard can be a little tricky. Your instinct would be to type the name and click the magnifying glass. However, if we do that, let's see what happens. So we're going to do that. No students found. Obviously, we know it's in here. We just did it. So what we need to do instead is we're going to type in their first name, and then we're actually going to click outside the box like that. There we go. Now we can see that. Again, it's just a little kind of tricky glitch to work around, so just be aware of that. So now that we found them, we're going to click on the arrow, and then we are going to indicate that they're withdrawn by clicking yes, and then update the student. Student updated. Great. That means that we did it, which means that we can go ahead and check this part out. Okay, now let's move on to the regular withdrawal steps. So if it was just a regular student withdrawal, these are the steps that you would be doing. So schedule withdraw follow-up text. So schedule this text to be sent to the student unless they are moving or there is some other reason that makes it impossible for them to continue to lessons, like an injury or something. I'd say that their house blowing up is a reason that they would not be able to return to lessons, so we're just going to put a dash through that one. But if they were going to, it's kind of the same as all the other ones. All the other steps where we had to schedule a text, we would just copy and paste that body out of there and put it in ZipWhip. Schedule plans to return text, same thing as the other one. Their house blew up, they're probably not going to return. So, but again, you would just copy and paste it out of there, schedule the text, fill in the blank fields, and you'd be good to go. But for now, we'll dash that one. Plans to return email and plans to return phone. So same deal. There are directions in those columns, but in this case, it's not going to happen. Next step would be to add some withdrawal feedback. Enter information from the withdrawal request form on the withdrawal feedback form. With the free trial lessons, it is a little tricky because they don't actually have to submit a withdrawal form to cancel their free trial lesson. If they did submit a withdrawal form, there is a field in there where they would enter some feedback. But if you were on the phone with them and they gave you some feedback about their experience or basically anything to go off of, even if it seems small or insignificant, you should still update that list. So in this fake phone conversation that I had, where I set this fake GR up from, they said that they loved communicating with the staff and that they had a great experience setting up their lessons. So we need to go to the withdrawal feedback checklist, which would probably be in here, right? And there it is. Let's open it up. Okay. There we go. We'll scroll down to the bottom, work left to right, just like all the other checklists. So we got the location, we got the name of the student, we got the instrument, and we got the teacher. The reason was because their house blew up. The instructor feedback, they didn't provide any instructor feedback. However, said they had a great experience setting up their lessons. Great. Okay, could we make your experience better? Didn't sound like we could, so we're just going to say no. And then overall feedback, was it positive? Was it negative? Sounds like it was positive. There we go. So now we can go back to this list, check that off. Okay, cancel appointments. If you'll remember, we did do that just a little while ago, so we don't have to do it again because we can't, because they're not there anymore. So check that there. Add makeups to instructor schedule if student is not finishing lessons. So with a withdrawal, there are some instances where a student would be like halfway through a month and then be like, hey, we're just done. We don't want to come to any more lessons, so we're just stopping. And in that case, they're still paid up through the end of the month, but since they're going to be gone, we want to put some makeups over those classes that they're canceling so that other students can book makeups into them. Kind of like a student cancellation, except for it's, multiple cancellations. So you would put makeups on the schedule. We're going to get into how to put makeups on the schedule when we process a student cancellation. So for now, we can just check this, but just know that at the end of this processing section, you will know how to do it. Update the whiteboards. We already did that a second ago, so we're good to go there. Mailing list transfer, we just did that, so we can check that. Constant contact list transfer, we did that. Updated the retention statistics, did that. Great. Okay, now we are in the Monique processes later zone. If you're not Monique, then you don't need to process this later, but you do need to indicate that it does need to be processed. How would you do that? By copy and pasting this whole light blue row. So light blue, just in general on the checklists, indicates something that's not done yet, but that needs to be done. So you can go ahead and just copy and paste that there. That way when Monique goes through at the end of the month and is doing all her administrative stuff here, she'll see, oh, okay, great. Like, I need to process this later. So that is it for a free trial lesson withdrawal, but let's just kind of review really quick. If you were going to do a regular withdrawal, then you would go ahead and just fill out the information. We would still need that. Then you would skip the free trial lesson withdrawal steps, just dash through them like so. And then you would go through and complete the process immediately steps one by one. Again, if you get confused, if you're not sure what to do, then you can read the directions at the top of each of these columns, or you can ask somebody. Again, we're all here to help. We've all processed withdrawals. Sometimes they can be tricky. So if you're not sure, it's always better to ask. So there's that. And then again, you would just highlight blue to indicate the things that Monique needs to do later. And that is it for free trial lesson withdrawals and regular withdrawals. Alrighty, the next thing we're going to talk about is teacher penalties. So a teacher penalty is something that's incurred if a teacher cancels their lesson day, like I can't come in Thursday or Friday or whatever day, with less than 1 week notice, and they don't find a sub. So if they cancel with less than 1 week notice, like even if it was like the day before and they were like, hey, I can't come in tomorrow, but I found this sub, then they wouldn't incur a teacher penalty. But if they canceled, less than 1 week and were like, hey, can't find a sub, sorry, that's when they would incur a teacher penalty. And there's a lot more details to that, just sort of the whole teacher cancellation process. But every now and then someone might be like, hey, can you add a penalty for so-and-so? In which case you would need to know how to do it. So let's go ahead and add that penalty. So we're going to go to the student and instructor cancellations folder, teacher penalties, boom. We are on the spreadsheet. So here we are in this GR that I have here. We're going to add a $35 teacher penalty for Hayden Gandolfi. So we're going to type it in here. Hayden Gandolfi. The penalty amount, which is $35. The date, which would be the date that they canceled. In this example, that date is going to be the 8th. And the reason, again, this is an example. If you were doing this in real life, you would know the reason. But in this example, I am making up a reason, and I'm going to say that his house blew up. And then you have your initials. At the end of the month, Alex will go through and administer all these teacher penalties to the teachers. So that is really all you have to do with that. So just be sure to enter all the information in as normal. And yeah, just wanted to give you a heads up on how to do that. That's all there is to it. And now we can unstar this, move it into our completed label, and move on. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is a student cancellation. The reason I didn't set up a GR for this one like I did with all the other ones is that a lot of times parents will come up to the desk and be like, hey, I can't make it to lessons on this date, or hey, my student's not going to be here on this date, or say that over the phone or over text. So when you get those, it's important to just do them right on the spot. So we're just going to pretend that Mini Kyle's dad is coming up to the desk and saying, hey, I can't come in for my lesson on April 11th. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to cancel the lesson, which we would do by clicking this orange cancel button. And before you do it, it's always good to just kind of read back to the parent and say like, okay, so you want me to cancel the Thursday, April 11th appointment at 8 o'clock in Novi? Is that right? Just to verify, sometimes parents say the wrong date, or like they'll have their time mixed up, or their kid that they want to cancel mixed up. It's always good just to read it back so that you don't cancel it and then they're like, oh wait, it was actually this date. So just read it back. Once you do that, click cancel, then click OK. There we go, the reservation has been canceled. So now that's going to send an email notification through to our inbox. All right, let's look in the processing pool here. And look at that. There's our cancellation. So we're just going to click and drag this over into our label and process it. There we go. So how do we process this? Well, just like with everything that needs processed at Expressions, there is a checklist for it. So let's go to the student and instructor cancellations folder. We're going to crack that bad boy open. Student cancellations 2019. Okay, let's open that up. So here we are on the student cancellations checklist. So let's just scroll down to the very bottom. Let's kind of take a look at the checklist here. We have like location, student, date, time, teacher, early or late. Let's talk about this early or late thing for a second. So indicate whether the student gave us 24-hour notice early or did not give us 24-hour notice. And this is kind of important for a couple reasons. The first reason it's important is because if they cancel it with more than 24-hour notice, they get a makeup pass for the cancellation. If they cancel it with less than 24-hour notice, then they don't get a makeup. So that's one reason why it's important. The other reason why it's important is because it affects the pay rate on the makeup that we're about to make. So we'll get into that in a little bit when we actually make the makeup. But for now, just know that it is very important to know whether they're early or late. Now, if you notice at the bottom here, you'll see that there are month tabs for each month of the year. So right now we're on March. And if you look here, it looks like this cancellation is for April. So we need to go over to the April tab to make sure that it's all correct. So now that we're on the April tab, we're on the right tab, we're on the right checklist, let's start processing it. So it's for Novi, it's for Mini Kyle. The date, now it's not today's date, it's the date of the cancellation. So that date would be April 11th. It would be an 8 to 8:30 cancellation. The teacher is Expressions, our favorite fake teacher. And now we need to denote whether it's early or late. It's April 11th. Today is March 8th. So obviously it's early. But if you're not sure whether or not it's early or late, consult this timestamp. It's 11:31. Like if their lesson was at 11:30, even if it's just a minute late, it's still past that 24-hour mark and it would count as late. It is pretty strict, but that's the way it is. So, but since it's early, we're going to mark that it's early. Next, we need to schedule a makeup class. So if you remember way back from the Wellness Living section, the way that we schedule a makeup class is we're going to go to the Setup tab. And from there, we're going to click on Classes. And so let's just kind of split this up again, making spectacular use of our dual monitor setup here. So we need to schedule a makeup class. So this is let's see, what kind of class is this? This is a piano lesson makeup in Novi for a half hour. All right, as you can see here, you have all the different makeup lesson types and locations. So we need to find the Novi piano makeup lesson. So you can do that just by scrolling around and searching, or you can use this search bar. So we're just gonna use the search bar. We're gonna do Novi piano. There it is. Now there are some makeups that say like Novi piano or voice, Novi piano, voice, woodwind, etc. So if it's a makeup for a teacher that offers multiple instruments, then you want to make sure that the makeup is set for, piano, voice, or drums, whatever multiple instruments that the teacher offers, you want to make sure that the makeup is set for that. You don't want to just put one instrument on there because it kind of limits the availability on the schedule, especially for teachers who might teach piano and then something a little more rare, like a low brass or a woodwind or something like that. You want to make sure that the makeup matches the teacher's capabilities. In this instance, we know that this teacher, our favorite fake teacher, Expressions, only teaches piano. However, if you're not sure what instruments a teacher offers, you can look at their Wellness Living profile, or you can look at the instructor cheat sheet in your employee binder. So once you know for sure what instrument that instructor offers, you have the location right, then we're going to go to this Add Modify section because we're going to add a class, a makeup class to be exact. There we go. Okay, so now as you can see here, we have a list of all the makeups that are currently scheduled, but we're not here for that. We need to add a makeup class. So we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and we're going to click on Add a Scheduled Session. Then we're going to just go through step by step. It's in Novi, so that's correct. We don't need to change that, but just in case we did, we would go here. Then we go to Next. And then the start date and the end date. So this is the day that the class is on. In this case, it's Thursday, April 11th, 2019. So we're going to click this little drop-down menu, which is showing up down here for some reason. But April 11th, there we go. And we do not want it to be ongoing. If we do that, then it's basically just going to have a makeup class over that spot every week until the end of time, which in the future, when they didn't cancel, then there's the potential that someone would book into that makeup class thinking it's open, and then you have a double booking on your hands. That is certainly not what you want. So we're going to turn off ongoing, and then we're going to set the end date to April 11th. So just one day. That's perfect. Now we need the time, which is 8 to 8:30. There we go. And again, mind your AMs and PMs here. Make sure it's for PM if it's PM, AM if it's AM. The price is set to 1 cent. You can go ahead and disregard this. This is something that we needed to put there just for logistical issues for setting up the makeup classes themselves. So you never have to change this price. People don't actually have to pay a penny to book into the makeups. It's okay. Just go ahead and leave that. Then you want the duration. This is a 30-minute class, as you can see. So it defaults to 1 hour. You want to put it at 0 hours and 30 minutes. The room, you do not have to enter. So you can go ahead and leave that blank. Next, we need the date. So the day of the week. Let's see here. Thursday, right? Thursday, great. And then this is going to default to repeats every 1 week. However, we turned off the ongoing sessions, so this does not matter. You don't have to change this. This all looks great, so let's move on. We'll click next. Next, we need to pick the instructor. The instructor is Expressions. And then we need to pick their pay rate. So if you look back at this schedule here, the early cancellation means that they need the pay per service makeup rate. A late cancellation means they need the pay per client lesson hold rate. And basically, the way that this is set up, the way that the reason why it needs to be this way is because if a student cancels their lesson early, which is more than 24 hours in advance, then the teacher does not get paid for that lesson slot. The teacher gets paid whether or not the student shows up, so we need to make sure that they get paid for that. So if it's early, then the pay rate for the makeup would need to be set to pay per service makeup rate. However, if a student cancels late, so less than 24-hour notice, then Wellness Living pays them for that appointment. So we would set it to pay per client lesson hold rate, which would not pay them for the makeup because they're already getting paid for the original session that was canceled. So we wouldn't want to pay them twice, but we also don't want them to not get paid. We want them to get paid exactly one time. So in this case, it is an early cancellation. So then we would go over here and click on the drop-down menu. In our favorite fake teachers drop-down menu, it says this is not real. So it's not real. But if this was a normal makeup, you would select either pay per service makeup rate or pay per client lesson hold rate. Both of those would be options, and you would select them. Then we're going to click next. We don't have to do anything else on this page. We don't have to add any special instructions, so then we would just hit complete. And there we go. Now that once we did that, we can go ahead and move this cancellation into our completed label after unstarring it. Boom, you did it. Student cancellation. Good job. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is a lesson hold. So here we have a hold spot form submission from the processing submission page. So we're going to process this. And just to kind of review, if you remember from some previous sections where we were talking about holds, you'll remember that it's for students who are going on vacation in the summer months. A lot of our students will go out of the country or something, but don't want to lose their spot. They are able to hold their spot anywhere between 3 and 12 consecutive weeks between June 1st and August 31st. So this is an example. You would not be able to hold a student from April 11th to May 2nd. But since this is training, it's just an example, we're going to go ahead and do it. So let's find the checklist, probably in the withdrawal and hold folder. There it is, lesson holds 2019. Let's look at it. All right, so we're just going to scroll right down. We'll start with the location. This is for Mini Kyle, our favorite fake student. There we go. We know he's in Novi. We know that the instructor is Expressions. And let's see the reason for the hold request. So let's see, the reason for the hold request is going to Antarctica to escape the summer heat. Okay, so we're going to copy and paste that right in there. The hold weeks. Okay, so we need to write down the first hold week and the last hold week. So we have April 11th as their first week and May 2nd as their last. So we're going to write down 4/11 through May 2nd. So the first affected month would obviously be April. So we're going to put in April. The second affected month would be May. And since it's not spanning 3 months, we can just put a dash through the third affected month since there is not one. So notify the instructor. So we just need to email the instructor and let them know that they're going on hold. There isn't a template for this one, so we would just go into Gmail, type an email to that instructor, and in the subject, just, again, keep, details are important, so lots and lots of details. So we're going to do me and Kyle holding lessons. Hello, expressions. And Kyle is going to be holding his lesson spot from 4:11 to 5:2. Please let me know if you any questions about this. Have a wonderful day. Okay, and following our email format, we have a subject, we have a greeting, a detailed body, a closing, and our full name and title at the bottom. Excuse me. Looks great. There we go. Send it. Great. So now the instructor knows. Now we need to charge them a $100 deposit. So this deposit is actually refunded back to them when they return to lessons. It's more of like a security measure for us, like saying like, hey, like if you come back, you get this deposit back. If you don't come back, you don't get the deposit back. In the past, we did have some trouble with students who would go on hold for a really long time and then just not come back. So this is kind of a way for them to kind of put some skin in the game. Just be like, hey, I'm coming back. Don't worry. I want that deposit back. Here's my deposit. I'll come back for it. So we need to charge them that. So there are some directions here, but we're actually just going to do the exact thing. So if you forget how, those are there, but let's just go ahead and do it. So we're going to go to the profile of the student who's going on the hold. Then we're going to go to account, billing and account balance. And then it's kind of a two-step process. So we need to debit the account first. So we're going to click debit. And then we are going to debit the account $100 for a lesson hold. Debit account. There we go. So now the account is indicating that they owe $100. So now the next thing that we would do is click make a payment. And it would say $100 account balance, except for I credited myself because I don't actually want to charge myself $100. But if this was real, that would say $100. So you would pick their payment method. They have the virtual terminal, which is their credit cards, or they have the ACH account, which is their checking account. So you would want to indicate which payment method that they wanted to use for their charge. Select that and then hit complete. Once you did that, you would be done. So then you would just check that off on the checklist. Edit upcoming tuition payments. So we need to drop the tuition in the held months down to 0, prorate the student's return month if necessary. For example, if a 30-minute student is returning with only 2 lessons left in the month, then the tuition would only be $74 instead of the standard $142, and apply a $100 credit to their account. This credit may need to spread out across the months if the return month has already been significantly prorated. So basically, this student is going to go on hold beginning in April on the 11th. Since we're still in March, we want to make sure that they don't get charged that full amount for April, since they're going to be on hold. So if they're holding 3 weeks in April, then they're only going to be taking a lesson on the 4th. So we need to make sure that they are only charged for the 4th. So let's see. We have our tuition rate, which is $142. We're going to divide that by 4. Okay, so they need to be charged $35.50 for April. And then they are returning on May 2nd. So they shouldn't be charged the full amount for May, plus they need that credit on their account. So how do we do this? what we're going to do is we're going to go to the upcoming payment schedule, make sure they're only charged the $35.50 for the one lesson in April, and then go to May. Since it's a 5-lesson month, they would still be charged for 4 lessons. However, they would still have that $100 account credit from before since they're returning. So we want them to be charged their regular tuition amount, $142, minus $100. So $42 for May and $35.50 for April. So this can be a little confusing when you first start out. That's okay. For your holds, if you have any questions or anything like that, absolutely talk to people. Ask questions. We're here to help. So we're going to go to the passes and memberships, and we are going to look at the payment schedule for the lesson pass. And here we see there is only 1 month on the payment schedule. So it's going to seem like, well, how can we edit a payment schedule that's not there? Well, it's because it defaults to a 1 month, renew every month kind of lesson pass. So what we want to do is we want to actually extend that so that we can edit further payments. So we're going to click this drop down gear. We're going to click edit purchase option. And then the duration of the membership, we're actually going to extend that out to 4 months. Now this isn't going to change it. It's not going to charge them more. It's just going to kind of change the cycle of it. So it's going to basically indicate that the pass goes for 4 months and then renews. So instead of going like a month, renewing, it's going to go 1, 2, 3 more months, renew, 1, 2, 3, 4 months, renew, so on and so forth. Then we're going to go back to the payment schedule. There we go. So now we have our prices for March, we have our prices for April. So what we need to do is we need to edit our price for March. We need to make that $35.50, if you'll remember, for the 1 lesson in March. So we'll type it in, then press enter. And then we need to make this $42, which is the regular tuition payment minus the $100 credit. Then we'll hit enter. And there we go. So you can see the scheduled payment is $35.50 for March, $42 for April. So we completed that step. Great, looks good. There we go. Edit credit card membership. So we would do the same thing with the credit card membership, except for not the tuition amount, just the credit card payment amount. So if the student pays with a credit card, we need to make sure that they are not charged for their monthly credit card processing fee. Drop their payment to 0 by adjusting their payment schedule in the appropriate months. Instructions for updating a payment schedule can be found in the previous step. Now, since there's not a credit card membership on this account, we don't need to do that. They're paying with an ACH account, which is a checking account, so we can go ahead and just dash that step. All right, and then the last thing we need to do is reschedule the appointments. So right now, if we look at Mini Kyle's upcoming schedule, it's going to indicate that they have regularly scheduled lessons from April 11th to May 2nd. That's not what we want. We need to indicate on the schedule that they are holding their lessons. So we're going to click on this, click reschedule, and then it's going to default to step 3, but we actually want to take it a step back, go to step 2, and see right here where it says service. We're actually going to change that service from piano lessons to lesson holds. You can find these towards the bottom, so click lesson hold. There we go. Now we're going to go to select date and time. We don't want it to be just for a day, but we also don't want to do all sessions going forward. We want to select a date range. So we have the start date, which is April 11th. Select that. And then the end date would be May 2nd, 2019. There we go. And then this is still all good, so we don't need to change any of that. It's an 8 o'clock appointment on Thursdays. Let's go to the next step. And then we need to select the teacher. So it probably won't show up here since, yep, okay. So because Mini Kyle's already booked in that spot, it's showing as that teacher being unavailable. So we're going to click list unavailable staff. We're going to type in, there it is, Expressions Music Academy. Then we're going to click book unpaid. And these are conflicts because there are already regular lessons booked into them, but that's okay. That's what we want. And we can just double check the dates here. April 11th to May 2nd, that all looks good. We're going to click book all anyway, book unpaid. There we go. All right, and let's go back to the client profile here. Okay, now let's look at the upcoming schedule to see if we booked it correctly. And it looks like we did. We have Thursday, April 11th, lesson hold, lesson hold, lesson hold, lesson hold, all the way up through May 2nd. We have the private lesson leading up to it, and then private lessons going on after that. Looks great. We nailed it. Now we have a couple more things to do. We need to check that off because we did it. It's done. And then we need to go to our email inbox, unstar it, and put it in our completed label. And that is a lesson hold. Good job. All right, we are getting dangerously close, my friends. Let's keep cooking through here. We need to send a recital sign up text. So pretty much all the time, but especially during recital sign up week, people will come up and be like, hey, I want to sign up for, so-and-so, whatever specific recital they want. We actually cannot sign anyone up from our end. They need to do it themselves, and they need to do it through Sign Up Genius, which is our sign up website. So there's a few different ways you can do this. If they want it to be texted to them, we actually have a template. So we can go, we're already in our conversation from earlier, so let's click on the clipboard. And in here we have the recital signup link 2019. So you would just enter in their name. Everything else is already there. Click send, boom. So if they need it emailed, or if you want to insert it into a different conversation without using the template, what you can do is you can just copy and paste the link. You could, I guess, do it from this template, but an easier way to do it would go to the processing submission forms page. And at the very bottom, if you'll remember, we have all of these awesome links that we can send to our students. And there it is, the recital sign up form. So you would just copy it and you can paste it wherever you want. You can paste it in an email, you can paste it in a text, wherever you want to paste it. But if anyone wants to sign up for recitals, just send them the link. That's all you have to do. That's where you find the link. There's the template in ZipWhip if you want to use that, but that is all you need to do if someone wants to sign up for recitals. All right, the end is near, my friends. We're just going to do the last couple of tasks in our dummy inbox here. They're very closely related, so we're just going to do them one right after the other. We have a recital sign up and a recital cancellation. So this is a real recital sign up that I dug up from before. So we're going to do that first, and then we are going to do this recital cancellation. So starting with this enrollment, let's go to our processing checklists, go to recitals, and go to recital registration processing 2019. That is the one that we want. Cancellations is right above that, but we'll get to that later. And here we go. Gonna scroll down to the bottom. There we go. All right. So now that we're here, we're going to find the location. It is not in this email. How do we find that location? Let's look at the student's profile. So we're going to go to Shalvi Bambari's profile, pull that up here. Let's take a look here. It looks like Novi. So I think it's safe to assume that she is in Novi. Enter that there. Then her name is Shalvi Bambari, as we can see right here. And then the instructor. So let's take a look at her upcoming schedule and see who her instructor is. Looks like she is with Beth Wardell. Okay, so Beth, and with teachers like this, like sometimes we have multiple teachers with the same name. It's always good to put their last initial on the checklist. So Beth Wardell, Beth W. That looks good. Next, the instrument. So let's take a look over here. It looks like she's doing piano lessons. Great. So we're just going to put piano there. The next thing that we need to do is put the flyer in the instructor mailbox. Obviously, there's not really a good way to show that. So we're going to just read the directions. It says grab It's Recital Time flyer from the drawer. I'll pull up a little example on the screen here that you can see. There it is. And then as you can see, you need to enter the student's info on the bottom front side of the flyer, put a sticky note on the flyer asking the instructor to give it to the student or parent, and put that flyer in the instructor's mailbox. So once you do all that, you'll be working on location. You just drop that flyer in the instructor's mailbox. Once you're done with that, you will initial it. We have done it for training purposes, so we would check that off after we did it, of course. Then we need to email the instructor with a canned response. Email them, informing them that their student has registered for a recital. Use the canned response in Gmail called recital sign up email for teachers. Okay, if the instructor has 2 or more instructors, send the email to all of them. It looks like she only has 1, so we're good there. So let's go to Gmail. We'll find Beth Wardell's email address right there at the top. Great. Then let's go to the little three-dot menu, canned responses, and recital sign up email for teachers. Great. Now we need to change the subject to your student has signed up for a recital, so we can actually copy this and paste it right in there. There we go. Now we need to fill in these fields. So, dear Beth, your student Shalvi Bombari has signed up for which recital did she sign up for? The 324 3 o'clock Fusion recital. Oops. Great. And then there's some more details here. Please let us know if you have any questions about this. Thank you, EMA Front Desk. So with this canned response, this is a kind of one-time exclusion to the email rule where you need to end each email with your full name and title. We get a pretty high volume of these. There's typically not responses to them. If there are, they can be fielded generally, so you can just leave this as EMA Front Desk. The last thing that we need to do, Dear Beth is in red. That looks almost threatening. So let's change that back, highlight it, go to the little text box here, click text color, background color to white. Just kidding. The text color to black. There we go. And it's still bold, still looks a little extra. Let's unbold it. That looks better, much better. And then we would send it, except for we're not going to because this is an old enrollment. So let's pretend like we sent it. And that is all that we would have to do for that. Last thing is unstar it and move it to completed. Perfect. Next thing that we need to do is a recital cancellation. So these are just about as easy as the registrations. So let's go back to the recitals folder, crack open that recital cancellations checklist. And there we go. So this is Minnie Kyle's 5/18/430 Disney recital booking. So the name of the student, the date of the recital, which is the 18th of May. It's at 4:30. Recitals, the standard length is an hour and a half, so we're just going to put 4:30 to 6. The instructor for Minnie Kyle is our favorite fake instructor, Expressions, and it is a Disney recital. So we're going to locate and select reservation on Sign Up Genius. So we need to go to Sign Up Genius. Let's go there. There we go. Now we need to log in. There we go. We got our email address. There we go. Okay, now let's click on this. And then we need to add, edit, delete people. We are deleting someone. Let's find them. So this is Minnie Kyle on the May 18th, 4:30 Disney recital. We're in February right now, so we need to keep scrolling until we find the 18th. May 4th, Star Wars Day. Not quite. May 18th. There we go. So the May 18th, 4:30. Where is Minnie Kyle? Right there at the bottom. So now we need to check that box. And then we're going to scroll all the way back up to the top. We located it and selected it. Great. We finished that step. Let's move on. Next, we need to delete the selected user and send the custom email. So now we're going to click delete selected. And then we're going to send them the custom email. So copy and paste this message into the text box. Let's go ahead and do that. Copy. and paste. This email is to notify you that we have canceled one or more of your recital reservations. If you need to book into a different recital slot, visit this website and sign up for a new time. Then we need to click send an email to the users, then click yes, delete. Great, now that we're done with that, we check that off. Next, we need to remove the info from the registration checklist. So let's go back to our registration processing checklist, find our friend Mini Kyle. Aha, there it is. So we need to remove this completely. Just like a free trial lesson withdrawal, we're going to delete the row. Boom, gone, done. Great. Initial that. And last, we need to email the instructor and let them know of the cancellation. So short and sweet, but detailed. So we're just going to email expressions, Mini Kyle recital cancellation. Hi, expressions. Mini Kyle has canceled his recital booking for May 18th at 4:30 p.m. Please let me know if you have any questions about this. Have a wonderful day. Great closer. Full name and title. There we go. Click send. We did it. Check it off. That is the last step, and I think you know what to do next. We're going to unstar this email since we're done with it and move it into our completed label, and that is all there is to that. Whew, we did it! That's about every processing related thing that you'll have to do here while you're at Expressions. Remember, if it needs processed, there's a checklist for it. If you ever have any questions about this, please ask. Just to recap, in this section we talked about what processing means, when to submit things via the processing submission page, when to process things by yourself, and how to process request information forms, credits and refunds, material requests, level up junior to private lesson enrollments, returning student enrollments, recital enrollments and cancellations, schedule changes, student cancellations, teacher penalties, free trial lesson withdrawals, free trial lesson reschedules, lesson to holds, and private lesson withdrawals. This is probably one of the trickiest portions of this entire training program, so be sure to review if you need to. Otherwise, it's quiz time.